Okay. Okay. All right. I think it's live. Cool. So let me know if you can see and hear us okay. Today we're going to be working on a 7950X CPU. It's AMD's new Zen 4 part. And we already have the review on the channel, but now we're going to be overclocking it with some liquid nitrogen. So I've got 30 liters of LN2 in this dewar here. I have another 150 liters back in that tank in the corner. And we're not going to need, well, I don't know. Yeah, we're not going to need all that today. But we got some extra because the 7950X runs very hot. So, and then we are also going to be using this Kingpin cooling LN2 pot. This is the T-Rex pot. This one works the best out of the ones that I have and have used for CPU overclocking. And we're going to just be throwing that on the CPU, seeing how it does. And the goal today is going to be 6.3 gigahertz is my goal. I am not like the best extreme overclocker out there by any stretch of the imagination. So for me, 6.3 would be pretty good. Now, for perspective, at AMD's press day demo, before this was even finalized silicon, they were at like 6.4 or something like that. So we're going to shoot for a little bit under. All right, let's see what the chat says. So chat is saying audio and video are fine. Thank you, Commanzo in chat, and good to see you again as well. Cool. All right. Looks like we're good. So, Steve, why are you streaming at 3:30 a.m.? It is not 3:30 a.m. and there's only one time zone. Conspiracies start here. All right, so I'm going to try and read all the super chats today. We're going to do them on a 30 to 60 minute delay. I'm going to push most of them to the end of the stream so we can get through all of the overclocking focus stuff first. So you'll have to stick around if you want to ask a question and hear the answer anyway. And then for mouse mats and mouse pads, we're going to sign all of them that are purchased during the stream today only. So only during the stream. And I'm also going to go ahead and just write the final score on it. So let's say we hit 40, I don't know, 2,000, 43,000, whatever, in Cinebench. I'll write 43K on it, sign it, and that'll be our special thing for the stream today. I'm really excited about this, honestly, because we haven't done any extreme overclocking with liquid nitrogen since probably the old office on stream. And the most recent time I did anything like that would have been off stream with Brian from BPS Customs. And I can't remember if that was LN2 or not. I genuinely don't remember. It's on his channel, though, on BPS Customs. But I have not done any LN2 overclocking streams in over a year now. And this stuff's always so much fun to do. There's all these demos we normally do that it's been a while, so we'll get to do those again for new audiences. And people have seen a lot of these. We'll get to see all the madness again. I restock at the CMOS battery. Let's see how the chat's going. 6 gigahertz is almost fast enough for Crisis. I mean, yeah, Crisis does actually scale that way. So we did a stream once. We did a, I think it was an XOC stream overclocking to play Crisis 1 and ran the benchmark demo. And I don't remember how the scoring worked, but it scaled even on new stuff, so like the meme is true. It is actually very difficult to run. 3090 was the last LN2 stream, wasn't it? I don't remember. Did we do that? Did we do a 3090 LN2 stream? Actually, I guess the 3090 was a long time ago, so yeah, probably was, actually. I was thinking of the 3090 Ti, but that was this year, and we didn't do much with that. So yeah, might have been that. Okay, cool. All right, so let's go over the bench setup. It looks like everything's working okay. First of all, I don't know, give me some information in chat. If you could just say like, this is always a nightmare to ask for. I want to get a good idea for how much I should explain on the liquid nitrogen and the overclocking setup side. So I guess the question is, yes or no, do you want me to explain what's going on here, or do you want us to just start? No is you want us to just start. Yes is like you would like to learn some more about this. So let's get chat going on that. Okay, so that's a good question. How much LN2 do you normally use for a session like this? So that depends a lot on the components we're testing, because the higher end stuff it is, Like the higher power consumption, especially with CPU and GPU, the more you're gonna burn, like liquid nitrogen, the more you'll go through. And then obviously if it's lower power consumption, it doesn't use that much. So to answer the question, I don't know, probably like, I think we'll probably use like 10 liters today or something. Okay, we do have a question that is, what's a computer? So I'm gonna skip that one. Only the basics. Okay, a good amount of no's for like, let's just get started. So we can just get started. So I'll do just the absolute basics and we'll go. All right, this board is an ASRock X670E Taichi. I don't have any particular affinity for this board. It's just the one that we weren't using for reviews. And I've stripped the stuff off of it. So we took off the, let me go get it. Took off the heatsink, took off the back plate. So all of this, like 2 pounds of metal was on there. And this is great for, you know, if you're running it normally, but it actually becomes a problem for what we're doing because what I want to do is insulate everything, and it sits on here like this. So you've got all this metal that ends up just kind of providing a surface for water to condense on, and we don't want any of that. So we got rid of that. I would have liked to leave the chipset heatsink on there, except the chipset heatsink, to leave it on there, I would have had to cut the heat pipe, just like AMD did in its demo we did with them. So I just took the whole thing off, and I put this little tiny baby heatsink on the chipset. Actually, if you haven't seen this, it's kind of interesting too. Let's get a shot of this. So there's the basically North Bridge and South Bridge. That's the X670 chipset. There's 2 of them. We've talked about that before, but if you haven't seen it with, you know, out all the stuff on it, that's what it looks like, except I added these. Just enough to keep it kind of under control, but we're not doing any I/O benchmarking, so it doesn't get that hot. Also, I think these consume less power than X570, but especially between the 2 of them. So anyway, that's set up. I guess we can just start putting it all together. I'm gonna check chat in a second, see what people are talking about. But I have some fans out here to blow LN2, like the vapor, the nitrogen itself away, the gas, so that it doesn't just spill out onto the board and freeze everything. So that's why that's there. And then, is there anything else? Oh, and then we coated it in Vaseline, which is for insulation. So basically, working with like Vaseline and nail polish will insulate stuff really well. So I did nail polish around the chipsets, because they have some small SMDs, like surface mount devices on them. So we coat that with nail polish, that insulates those permanently. And the less permanent is Vaseline, because, you know, if you really wanted to, you could put it into an ultrasonic cleaner and clean it all off. And so that protects us from water buildup over time. And as the water kind of runs off of the LN2 pod, if it warms up and things, we don't need to completely break down and rebuild because we've insulated it. So we should be avoiding any short circuiting that would be caused by condensation, drip, and buildup. All right, let's get the Kingpin LN2 pot on there. Big shout out to Kingpin from EVGA, still currently. And his website for this stuff, if you do want to get into it, is just kingpincooling.com. All right. So I have 3 cap nuts for this. We don't have a 4th one. The reason I have 3 is because Joe Stepanzi from Bearded Hardware saw that I had 0, and he wanted to be helpful, but not that helpful. So he gave me 3, which is 1 short of what I actually need, but is still very helpful. In the past, I've actually tested this just kind of like sliding around on the CPU, and it sort of sucks because as you know, when it's frozen, it's fine. It mostly stays in place, but if it's like, if you're warming it up or reheating it or anything with a torch, it starts to slide around, and that's just a huge pain to work with. So this setup, like I said, it's the 7950X. We are using this, the paste sponsor today is going to be Thermal Grizzly, and it's Cryonaut Extreme, so it's that pink paste that was on there. It's the one that makes it look like it was a murder scene when you have the CPU just, AMD CPU covered in almost a red paste. This is the Thermal Grizzly tub that we're using, because that's how much they sent over. And it looks like this. So we're gonna be using that today. This stuff is good for, specifically for extreme overclocking. And we've got links in the description below if you're interested in it for their non-XOC stuff. So like Hydronaut would be more useful for normal water cooling. The difference, if you're curious, between the XOC paste, not as part of like a sponsor thing, but just in general, is it resists cracking better once it's really cold, in theory. And so paste will crack once you really freeze the thing you're working on, the pot. And you sometimes hear like a crack when you're overclock pouring. And if you hear that, you can think of it as effectively you've broken the barrier between the interface between the pot and the CPU, IHS, and so now there's no transfer media. And without transfer media, you've got something pulling hundreds of watts with a big thing of copper on top of it, and it's no good because now there's no way to get it from one into the other. And so obviously you don't want the paste to crack because then you can't transfer anything, any heat really effectively into the pot. All right. Can that CPU run Excel? Don't think so. Obviously, I mean, does it say Excel certified on it? Yeah, I didn't think so. So maybe next time check the specs before asking if it supports weird and abnormal software. The threads are most likely metric. Yes, they are. I could just find another one, but I like the story of having 3 out of 4. Okay, thoughts on Der Bauer's delidding results. I haven't watched the video yet, but he actually told me that like probably a month ago when we were at the AMD event. I was messaging him. There's a quote in our look at the delidded CPU, and he was telling me about his results then, and it sounded super cool. He's going to try and get us a delidding tool and a well, I don't know what I can talk about for the other stuff. He's trying to get us some stuff related to the CPUs, and I'm really excited to test it. So we will be doing benchmarking on everything that Roman sends over, but definitely also on delidding. I just need to figure out a CPU that I can potentially sacrifice for it. So okay, let's no, we're not using the 7950XE. Okay. All right, I don't know what the chat is. I don't know what chat's going on about right now. Okay, cool. So Andrew's setting up another light. I'm gonna wait to start overclocking until he's done setting that light up. And what I'm doing right now is just hooking up a thermocouple reader. So this meter is just gonna tell me the temperature. The orange wire here is a K-type thermocouple, and thermocouples are, for this kind of stuff, you basically shove them into the base of the pot, so they mill like a channel into the LN2 pot, and that channel is used to insert a temperature probing device, with normally K-type thermocouple. You can use T-type also though, and that gives you the pot temperature, because you can't use the CPT die temperature that Hardware Info would give you, because that is that bottoms out at -49. So that's why we need this special setup. Because once we're below -49C on T-die, I can no longer actually see what the temperature of the CPU is. And so we're kind of running blind. Is that the last light? Okay, nice. All right, I'm ready when you are, Andrew. So for the OS, we're going to use Windows 11. I have not benchmarked with Windows 11 for extreme overclocking stuff. We've used it for the CPU reviews and stuff now. So if you saw our reviews recently, that's all Windows 11. And I've been kind of shy of using it because I didn't want to like hurt performance of things. I didn't know what kind of telemetry it was doing, but I need more installation. But that's what we're going to use today. And now what I'm doing is insulating the LN2 pot further, so that as condensation forms around this, we can prevent some of the drip down onto the board. What? What did I say? Was it because I said the prevent the drip? Like we're drip checking the LN2 pot?
Gotta get that drip.
God. Andrew says gotta get that drip. I guess that's what we're doing. This is what happens when you spend like a week working on only one thing, and everyone's tired of the workload that it created. You start talking about trying to get that drip on a liquid nitrogen pot. Sentences that no other industry will say. You get it here. Please try lapping the IHS before delidding. Yes, we will definitely do that. That is the goal. I was just reading some of the chats. Anytime we're going to do anything like that, we'd probably do two different things, honestly. Probably there will be a lapping thing and a delidding thing video, but I don't know what the order will be. It would be with different CPUs, though. Are you using a socket heater? Also a great question. No. I should be using something for like memory heating, but I just, this is a new platform. I'm not really sure how it works in general in terms of behaving with cold. So I'm going for as simple a setup as possible. We're just going to prevent condensation. If stuff freezes over, then probably we've been streaming too long anyway, if it freezes over to the point where I need heaters. I know that AMD at its event used heaters, so they are useful. I only have a couple heaters, and they're all for GPUs, so I would have to kind of adapt something forward. Let's get it booted. Oh, the extra fan sitting over here precariously. All right. You want to see this really super advanced setup? Nobody else, 0 other people in the industry have this technology, okay? Patent is actually pending. This we call the QFMS. It is the quick fan mount system, and it works really well. Like, there's still some stuff to work out, but as you can see, it's pretty close to perfect. All right, liquid nitrogen time. Oh, there's some in there already. Someone said, will he go full pot? I don't know. I don't know when this CPU bugs out. So, I think the AMD guys were saying that they accidentally were running at full pot, which is when when you have no port control, basically, whether intentional or not, and run it literally with the LN2 pot full of liquid nitrogen. Just gonna get a little in there. Just for some background, I did, perhaps in a risky way, clear CMOS before starting the stream. So that's why that boot time you just saw, like from when I hit the button to this, that is, in fact, what you should expect if you clear CMOS or boot AM5 for the first time. So that's the real experience where it takes like, I don't know what that was, probably a couple minutes. So it might feel like it's not working, but basically the first time you build your AM5 computer, push the power button, and then like, I was gonna say leave the room, but you should probably stay there if you're using like a gigabyte power supply or an NZXT H1 or something. But if you're not, then leave the room, come back, and then it will have booted at some point in that process. I don't remember the start button being in the bottom left the last time I used this, but it is better that way, so I'm not complaining. All right, so what I'm gonna do is set up a full stock run. We'll see how it does stock for a kind of a reference point as we get going for this. All right, let me see, what's chat saying? Questions about, I did see should you wear gloves? Yes, you get the boot experience. Someone asked about that. That is in fact the boot experience. Let's do the gloves thing. We haven't done this demo in a while. Liquid nitrogen, if you do this stuff at home, I guess, take whatever precautions you think are necessary. There are gloves that exist for this stuff. I don't use them for a few reasons. One of them is that this is really hard to work with. Like look at the Look at that. It becomes more of a hazard to me wearing this than not because I lose like all dexterity. The other thing is like getting, first of all, let's just do it this way. Like LN2, as long as it doesn't soak, it doesn't hurt. So it's a little chilly for a second, but the problem emerges if you soak it. So like if you were to pour it on a sock, for example, that you are wearing, that would hurt a lot. But if it just kind of bounces off the skin, or if it's like splashes on me while I'm pouring here, that's okay. So that's the answer for the gloves. I mean, we have them. I normally use stuff like this when I'm getting LN2 out of the tank. So there's a transfer hose that gets real cold. So that thing, I mean, like it's gonna burn you cold, and which is how it works. And so for transferring out of the big LN2 tank into the smaller dewar here, that's when I use a little bit of something as a barrier, normally like a rag or a glove or whatever. But for actual pouring, I don't really need it. So yes, I agree with the person saying it's actually worse if you wear gloves. That is also my opinion. Okay. 0 points into dex. Yeah, it's like a negative modifier. It's like dex isn't that high to begin with, and then you get -5 or something to it. Okay. Oh, this reminds me too. There was a comment when we did the XOC video with the AMD team where it was some kind of comment about like wasting natural resources or something. So just it's liquid nitrogen, not helium. Liquid helium takes like 4 people to manage, and the atmosphere is like 80% nitrogen, so we're okay there too. All right, so this is all restored to default. I'll show you the ASRock BIOS quickly. How's your glare on this, Andrew? Yes, we do have a power meter. We'll be showing you that later. It's just full system power though. Also, someone's saying, how can you do this magic?
Angle it downwards a little.
Down.
Oh, I guess up.
How's that? Is that okay? Or you want up?
That's pretty good.
Okay, cool. All right. So let's look at the ASRock BIOS. Main page doesn't tell you much other than the version. There's an XOC BIOS, but I didn't put it on here. We're just using a public one. So you got memory, speed. You can turn CPU overclocking to on, which I guess is just customized in this case. This board is, I don't even know. If someone could post the price of this board, that'd be great, because I didn't get the final price. I think it's like $600 or something, but I'm not sure. It is extremely expensive. All these boards are. VDD miscellaneous, this is the new one. This is what you need to know about if you're doing overclocking with AM5. So we're gonna be modifying that later. Helps with stability. VDDG is still relevant as well. There's 2 of them. There's the IO die and then there's CCD. There's also the SOC voltage in here, and there's like an LN2 mode that that we will need to turn on as well. So, okay, let's load the default stock Expo setup. Oh, did not like that. Okay, there it goes. The system froze for a second. Okay, so this is currently set to DDR5 6000. It's a G-Skill kit. We're not really going to be using the memory. It's just Cinebench, so not really relevant. We have F-Clock set to, I think, 2000. Did I pass it already? I did. F-Clock is 2000. This is Infinity Fabric. As a reminder, this is kind of worth knowing for your at-home stuff. So even if you're not doing liquid nitrogen overclocking, you're just using air, the way this used to work was it was ideal to have a ratio of 1 to 1 to 1 for Infinity Fabric to U-Clock to Mem-Clock. Now it doesn't matter as much. So now auto to 1 to 1 works best. Where here we have like U-Clock div mode, U-Clock equals Mem-Clock. So they're 1 to 1. We have a whole video on this. If you're confused by the terminology, it's broken down there. And Infinity Fabric can be whatever. So 2000 works well for us on this chip. We'll probably drop it as we get into cold temperatures later, but I think we're good here. I have the fans set to higher speed as well. And we're just going to do a baseline score. No overclock applied on the CPU itself. I do need to make sure it's a little cooler though. I've discovered a flaw, Andrew. If you need to point the camera at the monitor while I'm pouring, we have in fact discovered a flaw. Thank you for the price check. Someone's saying $480. So that's the X670E Taichi. If this comment from KL is correct, apparently it's like 480 bucks or something like that. Which is, I mean, you know, a lot. It's very expensive. Yeah, okay, we got a couple people saying $480, so I don't know. You all heard me complain in the 7600X review, if you saw it, about the pricing for motherboards being the biggest weak point AMD has right now. B650 is happening. It's supposed to be October 10th, apparently, and that'll help with the pricing. The cheapest one's going to be 125 bucks. What I am terrified of is the fact that there's like $300 motherboard. Actually, we just ordered one. I ordered a $290, I think it was, ASRock X670 board. It was one of the cheaper ones out there. It doesn't have a 7-segment display, so that's a little display readout. It was limited on I/O even. It was limited on debug LEDs. Like, what are you paying for at 290 bucks? What's even left on the board? You get PCIe, at 4 of which slots you can't use because video cards are 4.5 slots now, and you have some power cable plugs, and that's about it. So, not super happy about the prices for the motherboards because, like, normally we don't have to factor that in for a review, but now it's so blown out of proportion that the total build cost to even get into a cheap CPU is like $500. You buy a $300 motherboard, you buy $200 of RAM, then you buy your $300 CPU, and you don't even have a video card yet, or a case, or a power supply, or anything else on the shopping list. So, yeah, the prices are absolutely brutal. Okay, let's run a baseline. So first thing I'm going to do is check and see how the mount is. So when we talk about the mount quality of, in this context, what we're talking about is how much of a delta is there between like the CPU die temperature and the actual pot temperature. And right now the delta is about 9 degrees between this number, so 10.4 for T die, which we're still in the sensor range that it can detect, and the number that I have on my meter in front of me is about 9-10 degrees higher. So just for point of reference, very useful to know how much scaling there is. So we are going to, we'll leave this open for the first run. So interestingly, as you might remember, the frequency on this scales based on the temperature. So let's get like average frequency right here. We'll get that open. We're going to get T die open as well. And what I'm going to do is run this Cinebench benchmark. What's happening? Where did it go? Why did that happen? I've never seen Hardware Info do that before. We're going to run the, there we go, Cinebench benchmark. There we go, that's what I want. And the goal is going to be just to check on the frequency sort of contingent on the temperature. So let's hit run. I'm going to get some liquid nitrogen in the two pot first just to soak as it starts to heat up. And we do have a kilowatt on the table if you want to check the power at some point, but it's not going to be that crazy right now. Is this in volt amps right now? Watts. All right, there's watts for you. That is total system power. In our review, we showed the just the CPU power before VRM efficiency losses. So that number is total system power. It's a different number than our review, but it's not too far off because if you look at the video card, that's what we're working with today. This is awesome, by the way. If you're like, why are they using a GT 1030 DDR4? It's because I don't care if anything bad happens to it. That's why that card is like my favorite card to overclock with if I'm just doing CPU stuff. Because if, I don't know, if it gets yanked out of the slot and shorts or something, I don't care. The card sucks anyway, so that's why it's in there. All right, so full stock but cold. We got 40K points, and let's pull up the readings. Okay, Windows 10 is like, oh my god. Please stop. Okay, all right. I'm having this is my like, this is my future, I guess. I'm never gonna get off of Windows 10. So when it was running, we were in the range of, is this average? This should be average. There it is, 5400. That is real high. So, so in our review, the average frequency of this CPU was about 5078 megahertz all core. Just again, we haven't overclocked yet, but this is really important for you all to know going into this generation because it affects you even at a consumer level. This is why this experiment's fun, because at the consumer level, what you need to know is that the CPUs now boost to the thermal limit. We talked about that. I'm not going to go into a ton of detail today to repeat myself, but boost to the thermal limit, and then it also still has a power limit. So there's still power limits that PBO can kind of override. PBO is off by default, but Precision Boost 2 is still there. I don't know if they've gone to 3 or anything like that, but effectively Precision Boost, not overdrive, is still there, still on by default. And I was just reflecting on how when we started the stream, so quick side note, the AC in this room is so loud, I have to turn the AC off to stream. When we started, I was having a hard time catching my breath because it was kind of warm. And then as soon as I started pouring the liquid nitrogen, it got a lot easier. So you shouldn't breathe a lot of nitrogen. There's good ventilation in here, don't worry, but it helps. So the cool thing with it though, is as a consumer, what we can do is use liquid nitrogen as a tool to reflect different cooling situations very quickly. So you see here we ran at 54 degrees Celsius during that test, which corresponded with that 5300 megahertz number we had somewhere in here. I don't know what, this scale is terrible. Is there an easy way? There we go. That's much better. Okay. So 5300 megahertz, 5400 megahertz, that's like crazy good. It's 300, 400 megahertz higher than what I saw in the review. And all we did was add cold. And you can add cold without it being L2 with higher end coolers. Now, getting it to 54 degrees with anything except this is probably more or less impossible. But let's run it maybe a little bit warmer, something more representative. So I'm going to run it and let it just heat itself up for a moment. And we'll run it a few times to get this T-die number up closer to reality. So what we are doing right now, before we get into the actual OC stuff, is using liquid nitrogen as a scientific experiment type tool, basically, to just simulate different types of coolers very rapidly. So we're at 50 degrees Celsius for this testing, and I'm going to probably run it a few more times. Isn't air mostly nitrogen? Yeah, so I don't know why people are like, I've got like 3 or 4 comments in here that are like, the air is mostly nitrogen, which I also just said, and therefore it's fine to breathe a lot of it. So because this is a safety issue, I want to be very clear about this. If you are in a closed quarters and you're doing what I'm doing right now, and you have a lot of buildup of whatever the gas is that comes, like you oversaturate with nitrogen and breathe a lot of it, you can get narcosis, I think it is. And basically you will feel faint and dizzy and then you'll die. So that's why I was like, you shouldn't breathe a lot of it because it is actually a safety issue. This is a gigantic room. We have good ventilation, so I'm fine, but something for you to be aware of if you're gonna do this in like, I don't know, like a shoebox or something would probably be suboptimal. Not enough room in there. Okay, so let's run it again. Our goal is to just get this warm. You can see the score drop though. We had 39,000 points there instead of 40K a second ago. That's because it's heating up now. Is it narcosis? Is that right? What do you get from? Is that what it's called? Exposure to high levels of nitrogen. I don't know, I don't remember if that's the name exactly of the condition, but anyway, you shouldn't breathe a lot of it. Okay, so we were at 58.5. I'm gonna run it again. Score dropped by 200 points. What we're doing is basically just demoing how Ryzen behaves. This is by design, as we said in the review. So AMD wants it to run as hot as possible, but there is still a limit. So eventually you will hit an actual thermal limit, and it will actually thermal throttle. But that would be if you're using a totally inappropriate cooler, maybe like the fan die, something like that. Yeah, thank you. Someone's saying it's the same thing as if you go scuba diving, which from what I remember, it is actually the same type of thing. All right, so here's where I give you the explanation. So we're at 39,716 points. If this means nothing to you, that's totally fine because it means nothing. So this is just a number in points that they are using to say, as we spread all these tiles across the screen that you see, how fast is it completing, and then we assign a higher score better for the amount of time required to complete. So they're basically taking time to complete, putting that into some kind of formula and spitting out a number where higher is better instead of lower is better. And it also gives you some gradient for differences. So 39,716, it's about 200 points lower. A minute ago we had 39,999. And before that we had 40,000 something. And that is all because of this, Windows security. Okay, thanks Windows. I'll take that under consideration. So our latest run was 64.5 degrees Celsius, and for the I hate this operating system so much. For the frequency, this is actually super cool. I don't know, Andrew, how well can you see that frequency chart? Let's see. So, yeah, this is actually pretty good. All right. So what you're seeing here, I'll use the mouse to point it out. This is our first run where I had it like, I don't know, I think I started the run at about -8 degrees Celsius pot temperature. And these are directly in line. So that's temperature, that's frequency. And when we were at a CPU die temperature of about 47, 49, somewhere in there, we were at 5,300. Let's say about 5350 to 5370. I'm going to write this down so we can make a video out of this detail later in an organized way for people who don't catch the stream. So like 49C, we're at 5350 to 5370. Let's call it that. The next thing is a run at, so we're not hitting steady state because it's just climbing over time, but it's a run at a range of 54 to 58 degrees Celsius, and the frequency there, all core, average, was 5320 or so, maybe like 5313 at the end. So let's write that one down too. 5313 to 5320. And I said that range was what, 56 or something? 52 to 58. This isn't super scientific, but it's good enough. So 52 to 58. This is me researching live, so you can see some of our process for understanding a new architecture. I love this stuff. It's really fun. Next one was 60 degrees to 64 degrees Celsius, and that you see it drop again, this time to 5,300 megahertz. We're still way above where we were in the review. So like 64 or so, 5,300 megahertz. So we are effectively losing like, it looks like 20 to 50 megahertz depending for every like 5 to 10 degrees Celsius. Is he using Windows 11? Yes. The future is now, old man, someone else says. Yes. I will, I don't know. Hardware I can keep up with. Software I find very frustrating to keep up with. So 39,285 points. I have Windows 7 on my home PC, fight me. 39,285, so that is 500 points lower than what we saw a second ago. And let's just map this. Sorry, we'll get to the XOC stuff. This is actually information I need to know though for my next videos and review process that we're gonna do here. So that one, we're at 70, so we're still not at like that 95 number, but that number is variable, remember, it will change based on the situation. So we're still cooling it past where it can reasonably hit 95 degrees Celsius, even though AMD says it's going to try and hit 95. The reason is because it's still hitting another limit, and that's going to be power. So this is 5,200, 5,230 or so to 72, 73, 5240, 5230. All right, let's write that down. 72, 52, 20, something like that. Okay. And then let's run it again. We're still too cool, so which is just going to be the name of my autobiography, by the way. It's gonna have a picture on the front like this, and it's going to say too cool. It looks really cool on the ground, but you can't see it. which is also that's the name of this first chapter. So this 38984, what are we running at here? Oh my God, I need to lock this to top. So for this, we're at 5200 and like 79. So now we're starting to approach a more reasonable range. So what this is telling you is completely ignoring people are just catching the Windows 7 comment, completely ignoring the power limits. For every couple degrees Celsius, you can effectively drive down the temperature. Effectively, we'll come back to. You're increasing the clocks, like say 20 megahertz. So I'm seeing like a range of 17 to 50 megahertz in increments, depending on, I think it's maybe a nonlinear scale from what I'm seeing. I'll research it more later. But and so the reason effectively is because you put let's say you put a 360 mil cooler on there from a 240, it's still going to read 95 degrees Celsius. So it'll feel like you haven't actually improved the thermals or the CPU, but you have. It's just you've improved the frequency, not the thermals this time. Anyway, that's kind of how that works. Let's see this through. Let's do another one. And what I want to do is get a gradient all the way up. And we'll do super chats closer to the end, by the way. But I want to get through content stuff first this time. So for today, I'm going to be signing every mouse mat and mouse pad purchased during the stream. You can go to store.gamersnexus.net. There's links in the description below. Go through and sign them all. It'll probably take me about a week to get out to the warehouse and do the signing, but so they'll ship on a little bit of a delay. But we are going to also write the final score on this when I actually get to the XOC stuff as something fun, because we haven't done an LN2 stream in a long time. All right, so this time we were at 5200, 5170. That's closer to what we saw in the reviews at 85C. 85, 5170. That is a 30 megahertz drop for 6 degrees Celsius change. I see the Blendinator chat. We'll go through those with the others soon. Okay, I've seen enough scale here for now. What I'd like to do at this point is see what happens if we just make it cold and don't do any actual overclocking. So what is the most this thing will boost? Clearly it's not just going to go to 95C always, because if I pour enough in here to get it to like minus 130, minus 150, to get to 95C on T-Die is going to be literally thousands of watts. So that's not how it works. It does still have power limits and other limits, but we're going to just go ahead and drive it down and see what the frequency comes out as. And remember here, 38,746 was the worst score we got out of these runs where it's warm, where it's above 0. And I'm going to write that number down too. I should have been writing these down, but 38,746. Which mat is your favorite? I still really like the blue and black wireframe one. We have the red and black HUD design, which is super cool. I like the wireframe one because it was like the first mouse mat we did, and it's all computer component design, so I like how it looks. Okay, so we're at -5 pot temperature. Let's just make it really cold. Can I move this? Yeah, not really. If I do, I won't be able to read it, which is a different problem. Yes, that is bad. I can't work with that. Sorry, I'll have to read you the numbers. All right. Let's just get it cold. It might crash if I make it too cold without LN2 mode on. I'm not sure. So hardware info here is influencing the results. Just want to note that right away, but that's okay. The point is this time to actually observe the results beyond the score, which is why it's there. But if we're doing real runs, we'd want to get rid of it, because it does take clock cycles, of course, on the CPU. So the delta is actually great between these. The reader is at -29, -30, and it's a little slow on response. That's -38. 8-degree delta is awesome. I'm pretty happy with that. Let's go ahead and run. So again, no OC, only AMD Zen 5 or Zen 4. We don't have secret CPUs. AM5 stock behavior, and we're gonna see how it behaves What is the current record? I'm not sure. I think it's like almost 50K, or is 50K now. It's really high. We saw AMD do 48,000 something. We did a video on it. All right, so 41,911, and the result is, let's see. Let's do some quick math here. So because these numbers don't really mean anything to anyone beyond being a number, 41 minus 38,746 was our worst score. So that is an improvement of 8% from only making it colder. Now, this amount of making it colder, not realistic, but you can see where the gradient comes in if you're using like custom loop. I think we said this in the reviews. I think custom loop is going to become really popular with NVIDIA, AMD, I don't know, but I guess Intel on the CPU side, all pushing this really high power consumption stuff. It's kind of time for custom loop to shine with this stuff, but that's what we're talking about, like total system cost. It's driven way up with boards, DDR5, and cooling, and power. Okay, pot temperature is minus 54. We're just going to keep running it. So that was about minus 40 originally, and 49, 40, what was it? Okay. What's chat saying? 50K, that's 32 core threader for performance. Yes, it is insane. All right. I'm just reading the chat. How will these do with the D15? D15 can run definitely the lower end stuff. I'm not sure about the 7950X, how well it'll do. I'd have to test it. 42,329. Let's see what the frequency was there. Oh, sorry. I keep doing it. It's funny, right? Like this is the T-die reading. You can see it's like, okay, we're at 34 minus 50, and then it just stops. So all we know is the pot temperature. So it's actually like insane. It boosted to 5,600 megahertz from being that was with a pot temperature of about minus 40. So I'm gonna write that down. That was 5,600 or so. And then with the most recent one, it was 5,670. Like, that's crazy scaling. Let's do it. We're at minus 70 degrees pot temperature right now. Haven't even poured anymore. It's just sitting there soaking. So let's see what that one is. 5670. I didn't see the score. If anyone caught the score on that last one, I think it was like 42,223 or something. If you could post the last score in chat, that would be awesome. I would appreciate it for my notes. Okay. 42,436, and let's go ahead and study the result once again. Okay, 42. You are watching the like live researching the product. Chat, catch that score yet? No one has caught it yet. Oh, set the graph to minus 50. Sure, yeah, we could do that. Nope. It does not like non-integer entry. Most recent was 5,700 all on its own, doing nothing, which is just cool to see the effect of the behavior, the characteristic. So 5,700, did chat get that score? We got 41,911 already. There's one in between. 42,436, that's the one we, was it 430? We got 346, that just happened. 436, oh, thanks. 436. That was minus 70, and that was, I said, 5,700 or so. Thank you, 42,329, thank you, chat. 42,329, that helps me not miss a number I might want. Let's bring it down a little more. I don't know when it's gonna crash and freak out. I would expect with that all-in-2 mode maybe like minus 100 or something based on previous experience, but who knows, new stuff, so. Don't know what I'm gonna be dealing with. It's kind of interesting. I don't know what my thoughts are on this for consumer. I think this is going to create significant like forum thread influx of my CPUs overheating, and that's going to be the topic for the next few years. Because people are going to turn the computer on C95C and they're used to the conventional, that means it's TJ Maxx. It's bad. But since this is now expected behavior, I guess what you're going to have to look at is frequency to see, is there a massive cliff fall off? That's how you know now if it's actually throttling for real. So yeah, I think the biggest thing is it's going to affect like user knowledge of how the system behaves. Uh-oh. Input's frozen, so that's going to be it for that without LN2 mode on. Let's go ahead and restart. Now we can get into the overclocking for real. Okay. I would love to see ampersand gigahertz. I don't know how to set it to that, sorry. I'm just waiting for it to burn off in there right now, and then we're going to warm it up a little bit. So we do this because this particular, just turn the fan off. This particular setup does not like booting when it's colder than like minus, I don't know. I guess earlier I saw like minus 95, minus 100 or so. So I'm just warming it up, that way it boots a little easier. I'm not super thrilled about the proximity of the fan, I might move that. But this will just help us get back into BIOS because it's cold, I guess cold bugging basically. Do you feel the need to warn people that it's normal temp with reviews? Yeah, I think we needed to do that. Otherwise, a lot of people will be buying it. They'll build it with like, what the hell? I just put a 360 millimeter liquid cooler on it. Why is it overheating? This thing sucks. And so without that knowledge that it's normal, I think it'd be a problem. Now, normal and like good are different things. I don't know long-term how that's going to affect the CPU. AMD says it's fine. I don't have a specific reason to disbelieve that. But I guess one thing that's worth pointing out, though, is I did notice that a lot of people in forum threads the last few days we're talking about 95 degrees Celsius. That's going to be a lot of extra heat in my room. So just to explain, like, I guess how that works. If you have two CPUs, let's use lower numbers. Say you have two CPUs, they're both 100 watts power consumption at the EPS 12 volt cables, no other differences. 100 watts, one of the CPUs is 95 degrees Celsius for the die temperature, and the other CPU is 50. It's the same amount of heat into your room. Your room temperature is going to be the same. It'll be affected the same way. So the CPU itself being hotter doesn't affect the room temperature. The power consumption does. That said, power consumption on these CPUs is high. So still kind of like a valid thing, just the wrong way around the reasoning. Just remember that temperature, if you ask the question of like, what is temperature? And ultimately we're talking about sort of like a human readable representation of energy. And so you need to look at the power consumption to really understand how it's going to affect things like room temperature. It's still getting cold. That's how much like LN2 is in there at the end. So I'm going to pull this because it's making me uncomfortable. And we'll add it back once we're ready for it. But for now, I don't want it next to a torch. Minus 87, that should be bootable. And then we're going to unplug the SSD so it goes straight to BIOS. I don't have to babysit it. Let's see. How do you evaluate your cooling solution if you can't look at temperature? Fantastic question. Basically frequency. You can still lock it, right? So you could lock the voltage and the frequency and then evaluate. If you're like a reviewer, what you would do is you would lock them all to the same thing because it's not going to boost the frequency if you lock it. So if you lock it at 5 gigahertz flat, all core, just because it's 70 degrees in an all core workload, it's not going to then push to 95. It'll stay at the locked amount. So that would be how you would evaluate like as a reviewer. As for how to evaluate sort of as an end user, it's going to be look at the frequency. I shouldn't have done that. I rebooted it because I was being impatient, but then I remembered that these take a long time to boot. So now we're going to restart the 300-second timer. So the you would look at the frequency if you're like swapping, if you're trying to figure out what fan curve do you want to use or something like that. What's with the fan? It's just to get the basically vapor from the liquid nitrogen pours away from the board so it doesn't all freeze over. Missing a screw on the pot, yes. Okay. Just reading some comments. I should do super chat soon as well, but first we're gonna get this thing booted. I think I probably need to clear CMOS because it's unhappy right now. Another advantage of using this card is that you can actually access the PCIe slot lever to get the card out of the slot, unlike the new stuff where it's all gigantic. And like you have ASUS adding little mechanical like pull levers to pull a PCIe slot lever. You know, it's like, at some point you're like, maybe this is the wrong way to fix the problem. Maybe there's another way to fix the problem. Okay, I'm just gonna let it sit for a minute or so while I make sure it clears CMOS. Does the power draw change with the temperature? In the sense that, yes, there's two ways it changes. So one is from leakage, where the hotter you run the CPU, I haven't done these numbers in probably 5 years, but about 5 years ago I did a test on some X blank 99, X like 79 or 99 CPUs, and for about every 10 degrees Celsius, we're seeing about a 4% change in the power consumption. So that's mostly from leakage, from inefficiency. And another reason it would change, I guess, would be the frequencies changing. So with this CPU, that is, not with all of them. Okay, let's get the battery back in. All right. And it should go straight into BIOS. What is that PCIe card? A DDR4 1030. It's like the worst abomination ever made. WSV says, I can't believe they pre-record these. Yeah, me neither. It's crazy how we're getting a real feed. It's actually all done with the AI. All the movement is pre-recorded, and then we just AI in like facial expressions and responses. Let's see. Just a lot of cooler questions, which is great. So we are into BIOS again. That's good. It's at minus 71 pot temperature. I was unhappy with booting because it got too cold and kind of cold bugged out, and so I've just cleared it and restarted. Although it didn't actually fully clear. So let's do some OC stuff now. All right, things to know. Number one thing to know, I'm not an expert. So I've worked with this platform a total of 2 times for overclocking. One was with liquid nitrogen earlier today as prep, and the other one was I watched the AMD team work with it, so I didn't even really work with it. So that's the first thing you need to know, is I'm gonna give you the best information as I understand it, but this kind of stuff is, you won't have many people you can ask questions about how this works. So there's going to be, there will 100% be things that I leave out that would be useful to know. I just want to be really clear on that so everyone understands where the knowledge is coming from. So things you need to know for this. Obviously, this ASRock BIOS, it just does frequency if you set it to customize, and that's going to be our core frequency. That's all core. And then you got CPU voltage. That's V-core. These two things are the main things we're going to be adjusting. It's the dumbest form of overclocking to get the biggest result. We're going to try and run the lowest possible voltage with the highest possible frequency. Easier said than done. Other stuff that is useful to know this time. So let's go down to SoC and uncore OC voltage. It's defaulted to 1.25. Let me check on the OBS window so I can see how well you can see it. Defaults to 1.25. I've been informed by AMD's XOC team that we might want to go up as high as, where is it? There it is, as 1.35 during this. Now, SoC voltage is one you want to be careful with for any kind of normal overclocking. If you're not extreme cold, This, at least in the past, I don't know if it's still true with AM5s and 4 stuff. In the past, adjusting SoC voltage too high was one of the quickest ways to damage a chip. I don't know if that's still true, but I would imagine it is. So be really careful with that one, liquid nitrogen or not. VDD miscellaneous. So this is a new one. Miscellaneous, they were calling it VDD MISC in our AMD interview. This we're going to set probably closer to like 1.2 or something as we ramp, and that helps with stability. VDDG has been around for a few years now. Hasn't changed. You can also use this for stability. I'm honestly not sure what this is. Let's see what the BIOS is. VDDP is a voltage for the DDR5 bus signaling. Oh, that's the PHY, okay. And it's derived from VDDIO MEM S3. VDDP voltage can approach but not exceed VDDIO. All right. It's actually, I mean, hey, full credit to ASRock. This is one of the most informative BIOS readouts I've ever seen. So normally they don't actually like detail things in sort of like plain writing. It's, you get some technical stuff, and if you don't understand all of the different terms, then you're kind of screwed. So that's cool. Thoughts on undervolting this generation? I think it's going to be really important this generation and yield some really cool returns and content, but I haven't done it yet. All right, so that's some of the basics. Let's see, nothing else on this menu. Let's go over to PCIe config. Oh, no, sorry. Onboard devices, yes. I'm going to turn off the PCIe Gen 5 redriver. We're actually going to run, if I can find it to clarify, we're going to run older generation PCIe. It's supposed to help with stability. Unfortunately, that's going to cut some of your performance off if you're doing GPU, like graphics stuff, like Port Royal, but we're not, so it doesn't matter. And then I'm going to go to ACPI. Are C states in here? Nope. We're going to turn off C states when I find them. I guess just probably overclocking. I'm exploring the menu right now, so not everything we see is going to have commentary because I haven't seen it all yet. LN2 mode, we want that on. So this will help. You saw we had an actual freeze, not like LN2 freeze, like the system Windows 11, I guess it's not an actual freeze, it's a virtual freeze. Windows 11 froze when I had it at minus 80 earlier, so this should help with that. And I already forget the other thing I was looking for. Oh, that's right, I wanted C states, wherever those are these days. Let's go back. What's in CPU config? Okay. PCI config's got 4G decoding, don't care about that. Redriver is off. Storage is irrelevant. Let's go with that for now. Clock, let's set this to, I don't know, 5200 for sure. Let's try it at 1.25, see what happens. Oh, we can go higher than that. Let's go like 5400. My goal today is going to be 6.3 gigahertz. I would like to hit that. I did not hit that in pre-testing earlier, so that would be awesome to see for, you know, as someone who's not super experienced. F clock we're going to reduce later, probably to 1800 to help with stability as well. And I think we're going to just try it like this with the small frequency change and go incrementally from there. The Arctic fan is hungry, and the only thing that it eats is blue shop towel. Earlier there was a tweet from SnazzyQ on Twitter, YouTuber, when I tweeted a photo of this setup, and he said something about the Costco blue shop towels, and I said they're not from Costco because there was a bagel incident previously at Costco, and I now have a personal vendetta against them. And I think that's all I can say. The bagel incident shall not be discussed further. It was resolved to the satisfaction of all parties. All right. Is it a slow boot or is it no boot? It is a slow boot. It's still booting. All right. Let's do super chats. Leviathan Prim says, hello, Steve and GN team. Hello. Good to see you back. The Ozum says, hi, Steve. Hello. Revenant, $5, thank you. Says Steve, I have a problem with my mod mat. My cat keeps sleeping on it. Any suggestions? I mean, it sounds like it's working as designed, honestly, so not really. I mean, you can get another one, but then the cat will just sleep on that also. Okay. I forget what I set the frequency to already. Is it 5.3? Let's see. Now we can hopefully run it a little colder too. CPU still at -50 and I haven't poured anything in a while. 5.4, okay. It's about 5.4 gigahertz. Let's cool it down a little and do a run. Look how frozen that is. That's why it's fun to work with this stuff. All right, let's do a run at 5.4. We're only at 1.25 volts. I don't know what sort of the get voltage is. So, you have some voltage fluctuation depending on the LLC settings. I didn't see an obvious LLC in here. It might just be fixed, or I'd have to explore more. But whatever it is, I don't know the get voltage without probing it. So 40,345. So it's obviously working okay. Let's go ahead and just reboot and go into BIOS and run it at a higher frequency. What I'm doing right now, we know it can run these frequencies because we just did it through auto, right? But what I want to do is see what is the lowest voltage we can have and run those frequencies. Did he delid? No, did not delid it yet. Buy 2 mats and keep them at least 1 cat's length apart for optimal results. We should hire you for marketing. Next question is, are we at 8 gigahertz yet? No, we will not be at 8 gigahertz. Jay Sierra says, we offer, what is this? Search Google. Oh, it's a Warhammer reference, okay. We offer the sacrifice to Mechanicus. CC says, woo, let's go. Yes, let's go. Let's do 5600. Let's see if we can do that at 1.25. I think so. Should be okay. Sounds like cat.exe has stopped responding. Try rebooting the mat. This is why the streams have always been fun. Babooey 73 199. Thank you. Says, thanks for the years of great content. Thank you. Thank you for watching it and for supporting. David Neubauer says, I like chicken. Thumbs up. Well, that is good to hear. I'm glad that you do. I was thinking of trying to reference the chicken sandwich wars, but I couldn't think of a way to do it. So I guess just know that it was considered, and I'm sorry. Next one. Oh, the mic. Is the mic really? Or the fan? Let's turn it down a little bit. Next one. VC Jester says, how long before Linus builds an LN2 lab? I don't know what you would do with an LN2 lab. You'd buy an LN2 generator. That would really long term maybe save money. Babooey, 1999, no message. Thank you. Money 200,476 says, can you comment on Intel 13th gen chart that shows 58X3D beating it? I have no comment. I haven't seen that yet. Someone else, Jeremy on the team, was working on writing that news earlier, and I haven't looked yet. I'm planning to do that after the stream and probably record a news video, but I actually have no knowledge of the Intel stuff yet because I was working on this. I was told that apparently they're going to launch ARC on the same day as NVIDIA's 40 series, which is really interesting. I wonder if maybe that's a play at trying to cover the lower end where they know NVIDIA is only doing high end. Like maybe Intel's looking at it going, okay, well, we kind of missed the boat. How do we get back on the boat in the least destructive way with as little damage as possible? And I think that's probably going to be launching low end when everyone else is focused on high and hoping they can capture some of the market that is more cost sensitive Really interesting to launch on the same day as NVIDIA. I was talking with Jeremy earlier on the team, and he had brought up I talked about this years ago with AMD, brought up the idea that maybe it's like a way to just like, let's get this thing out the door and just kind of like bury it under everything else. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what they're doing. Commentary on the 13th gen 58X 3D thing, beating it in the charts though. I haven't on it this time, but I'll be looking at it after the stream. So you'll have your commentary soon once I can record something. All right, next one. Nathan Tipton. I think you and your team should send a PC into the vacuum of space to overclock it. I'm not sure how that would work, but if anybody at like NASA wants, can I ask NASA if it wants to collab? Is that like, NASA, if you would like to collab, what I bring to the table, if you'd like to work together, then I think it would be good for me. I have nothing to offer, but I'll just put that out there just in case. All right. Oh, people are asking about the Costco bagel thing. It's such a dumb story. 42,118. So it ran. All right, cool. Let's go. I'll write that down. 42,118. We're gonna write that down, and then write down the clock. What I'm gonna do later is create a scaling chart. What's the score for each frequency? 42,118. That was at -70. Unplug the SSD. That's a great trick to quickly get into BIOS if you're doing this, so you don't have to sit there and slam delete the whole time. Dope drink coasters. Thank you. We sell them on the store if you want to get one. Obviously, it's working quite well with the thermos full of liquid nitrogen right now. Yeah, these designs. So currently, we don't have a plan to reorder these, and this specific set of designs, that is. So if you want this group of designs, now is a good time to get it, because the inventory we have, we don't have a replacement en route for it. So you can go to store.gamersaccess.net and grab them. These have been awesome sellers, and we've sold out of them every time we've ordered them. I like them. We have them all over the office, but we have some additional ideas that you will probably see in the not too distant future, and we're planning to make it kind of into like a collectible series. We sell these in a group of 4. It's these 4 all together, so you'll get one of each. So those are on the store. Helps fund our testing directly. We have the 4th review, by the way, 7700X going up soon. So that was 5600 at 1.25. Pretty damn good. Let's see if we can do 5800 at the same voltage. That's probably asking a lot, but 5600, 1.25. Cool. I was thirsty and I was about to grab that, but that would be suboptimal. Grabbing this, also suboptimal. Actually, most of the things on this table would be very bad to mistake for a drink. I think I've seen people at overclocking events at shows do like the magician trick of just spitting liquid nitrogen, and it looks cool, but I'm not going to do it because I don't know how that works. Let's get the SSD in there. This fan I'm kind of impressed with, honestly. This is not like a sponsored thing or anything, just we've had these around the office. Arctic sent us a bunch at one point. Didn't ask for them. I think we asked for a liquid cooler and they sent like 10 desk fans. And I have used them several times. We've used them at solder stations to get like the solder fumes away from the area. Use them here to get the liquid nitrogen vapor away from the bench so it doesn't condense everywhere. And I don't know what like your normal use case would be, but I kind of like them. Okay. It is booting. Excellent. Do you all see the boot thing? Like, it's not as bad as first boot, but it's still a really long boot time with this board at least. And ASRock did push a BIOS update. If you want to call it vBIOS, where they drove down the boot time a little bit. We have that on here. So if you end up buying an ASRock board, my understanding is that they didn't do that update until basically when the stuff was already in warehouses. So if you buy one, it's worth flashing BIOS if there's a newer version out there, because you might actually boot faster than you would out of the box. So we're at 58X, 5.8 gigahertz all core right now. Oh, Shane Eslick, good to see you in chat. Shane sent us some, Shane, I believe, is from Australia, sent us some stuff after we did that Australia charity shirt after the bushfires a few years ago. So Shane asks, have the foil ribcage or the skeletal design shirts shipped yet? Just wondering. So yes, they're on route to us, but they have not shipped out to you all. So we're still on target for October. When we had the pre-orders up, we were saying October for those. We're still good for that. And I think the plan is to have basically all of them out the door sometime towards the end of October, like actually shipped to customers. So you'll get notification emails with all that. If for some reason you need to change anything, like an order address, then email support@gamersnexus.net and they'll help you out. Okay, 43,413. That's a 5.8, 1.25. I'm curious though. Let's run hardware info this time. 43,413. I'll write that down. 43,413. It's at 5,800. 1.25. That was at minus 75 degrees Celsius. So what I want to see is vCore. That's VID. I'm not too familiar with this platform yet, obviously. It's literally brand new. So there's vCore. Let's run it again and just see what we get for vCore here. Oh, it's completely flat. Okay. So their LLC, whatever their LLC is, I don't know if it's a hidden setting somewhere or if they just fix it, but it looks like it's fixed. A little bit of a spike there. So 1.248 to 1.256 occasionally. Pretty predictable. Makes it easier for me as someone who doesn't have all the tricks that experienced overclockers have, but that means that, I guess what I was looking for, just to explain it, is when you set the voltage in your BIOS, it doesn't necessarily reflect sort of like the actual voltage because it'll depend on a few things, settings like LLC, load line calibration, which we have a video explaining from the past. And so if you type in, say, 1.25, but you have an LLC where it will allow some more, I guess, effectively droop or drop of the voltage, you might see the number coming out as like 1.21. And likewise, if you have it set more aggressively, it might come out as from 1.25 set. You might get 1.27 or 1.3 maybe realistically for the actual voltage. So that's all I was checking there. Are there any like questions I can answer that are maybe helpful for PC building? Like I would like to answer some questions that help the audience in general with PC building knowledge, either related specifically to the new stuff or in general. If you got any, post them in chat. Let's do another super chat. Leviathan Prim says, I think this is talking about the, when I asked the question about LN2, explain it to me like back in January. Yeah, so I think I already did this demo. I won't really do it a lot again, but you know, that's why I don't wear gloves. I don't know. Does that answer the question? I'm not really sure. Okay. Let's chat. Say any questions yet that I could take just for. I like to try and answer stuff that may help someone in the process of building a computer right now, especially if other people might have that question. We're at 6 gigahertz already, but not booted yet, so we'll see about that. Are you signing the mod mats as well? We do sell signed mod mat SKUs, so you can buy them signed, but we're not doing like a special thing for this stream. If you want one signed though, you can buy one signed on the store. You just click the drop down and go to autographed. Those take a lot of extra effort to sign though, so we separate them out. All right, let's see questions. I'm reading chat. At 6.5 gigahertz, Ryzen becomes sentient. We'll avoid 6.5. That sounds scary. That sounds actually terrifying. It's like it starts speaking to you in like a Lisa Su AI generated voice. It's like commanding you to throw out all the Intel CPUs that you've ever owned. Why not use Ryzen Master instead of restarting? Because it's not installed. I was going to install it, and I didn't have time before the stream. Let's see. I'm looking through the chats. There's I made the mistake of scrolling up. I have a question. I'm running a 9700K and a GTX 1080. What GPU would you recommend that doesn't give me too much of a bottleneck? That's a good question. I think we tested that not too long ago. I was reviewing GPUs on 9900Ks for a very long time. If you're playing mostly at like 1440 or 4K or something, you get into the low 30 series, upper 20 series, I think, and be fine. I'd have to test it to know like 100%, but you know, when you put a big resolution bind in there, you'll be okay on pretty much on most things, not anything. But let's see. I have an i7 7700. Is it worth upgrading to a Ryzen 5 5600? We tested that. We have a 7700K revisit, and the 5600X I think is in there. Oh, this is a good question. I'm torn between getting cheaper 13th gen. Let's get this booted. But dead socket and newer AMD stuff. What is worth it? Yeah, that's a good question. So let's think that through. So AM5 is going to be around for a long time, number of years. If you're buying X670, it's kind of equivalent to buying X370 many years ago, except now it's stable and established, and it has board partners who really support it, stand behind it. Intel's the same story it's always been, where it's like you're probably maybe 2 generations on the socket. For a while, my belief was generally that I would probably upgrade to a new motherboard anyway if I were upgrading after a couple years. But as we've seen Ryzen mature, now I can kind of get behind the idea of, hey, this platform is still good for a long time. So like X370, at least up until the 3000 series, and kind of the 5000 at the end a little bit, at least 3000 you were good to go. So the question of dead socket, should I get it or should I get AMD? I think the answer is going to be, how frequently do you upgrade your computer? The answer is pretty frequently. I'd probably only on that go with AMD. And if the answer is I upgrade like every 3 to 4 years, then it really doesn't matter. You just buy what's the best at the time for you. Because realistically, as nice as it is to think you're going to keep the board and everything, you're probably going to rip it all out if you upgrade in like 4 years. So, because there'll be other technological changes. Or there should be, hopefully. All right, let's get it running. This is at 6 gigahertz, 1.25. I do not expect this will be stable. We're going to cool it down, though, to help it out. Currently at minus 51 degrees Celsius. I want to bring it down to, let's see how low we can get this without crashing. Bring it down to like maybe minus 100 or something. See if we can get down lower than that. It will help with stability. You're also, as a bonus of running it cold, reducing voltage or power leakage and stuff too. Running more efficient from running colder. There's a great Joe Stepanzi quote when he was here working with me, and he handed me a thermos and he said, "Fill this," or yeah, fill this thermos. I went and I started filling it, and like 3 drops hit the floor, and he turned to me and he was like, "I said put it in the thermos, not on the floor." I was like, "It was 3 drops, sorry." So it's frozen at minus 80 degrees. I'm thinking a mount issue maybe with that. It's not a great temperature to freeze at. So I'm going to heat it up. I'll try and talk while we do that because it's going to be loud otherwise. Let's take another question from the chat when I asked for questions earlier. Oh, that's a good one. I can answer this. Anthony says, would it be worth upgrading to the 7000 series from a 2600 or wait a little bit for prices to drop? My setup does what I need for now, but I want to upgrade soon. Okay, this is great because it has all the information I would ask for. So the first question is always, are you happy with what it does now? And this particular user says, it does what I need right now, but I do want to upgrade. Maybe that's because they just kind of want a project to do because it's fun. Maybe it's getting long in the tooth. And ultimately, is it worth upgrading? So from the 1700, which is not too far off, at least when the 2600 came out, they weren't too far apart in performance. The 1700, we were seeing like double the performance in a lot of applications, like production stuff, especially by moving to really almost any of the 7000 series. 7700X we haven't published yet, but that was one of them. That especially, we were seeing like a doubling. So is it worth it? I mean, I think if you're moving from like a 2600 or a Ryzen Zen 1 platform, probably it is worth it. Like you're gonna actually see and experience the difference in games and things like that. If you're on like 3000, 5000, a little more debatable, where 5000 especially, the answer from me is no, don't upgrade. It's already new. 3000, I personally would not upgrade. I know a lot of people like to, but it's still good. So, what's it doing? Okay. Let's go to a higher voltage. It's unclear to me right now if that was from cold or if that was from voltage not being high enough. I'm just going to go to 1.35 from 1.25. I'm going to get back to that question in a second. And we're going to go to VDD MISC of 1.2. We're going to go to 1.3 for SoC. And we're going to just start running this harder and see if we can get to my goal of 6.3 before it freezes over or gets too much condensation. So the answer for me is going to be yes. I think 2600. If you were on, say, an R7 2700, I would say maybe run another generation if you're pretty happy with it now. But 2600, you're in the middle of the stack. You're down 2 cores from sort of the top end of that generation, and I do think I know there's an actually visible improvement. So hopefully that helps. That's pretty. I'm trying to give like pretty hard answers on this without being wishy-washy. So my answer to that is yes, it would be worth it. With the one contingency being, if you are 100% happy with it right now and you can't even think of a complaint other than you want to build a computer, then it just becomes a money question. Okay. What is the most, who is this from? Super DB's fan says, what is the most important thing to look for a motherboard for a 12th gen Intel? And this will probably apply to 13 also. Great question. That's going to depend on what you're doing, but to give the most like sort of wide-reaching answer, my answer for what's the most important thing to look for in a motherboard that's not doing this, so like a normal motherboard use case, is going to be ease of use features. So like not big heat sinks everywhere. They can help, yes, but there's kind of a limit. Debug codes, like this thing right here. I think everyone knows what these are, but if you don't have one on your board, maybe you've not seen one in use. So that debug code is crazy helpful because it'll spit out numbers where you can just instantly diagnose a problem, like at least down to a component, right? It might just say like memory problem or whatever and not tell you, but it gets you close enough. So for me, that's something I want to see on a board because if I run into any problems at all when I turn it on the first time, I just look at that and I don't have to like do a lot of guesswork. Because then you can go Google the code and probably pull up an answer. So that's my number one. Second one, if that's like, these some reason I've gotten into like the elite features class. I don't know why. It's incredibly frustrating because like, look at it. It's a 7-segment display. They're not that expensive, but some reason we've as an industry decided these things go on $300 motherboards, not $150 like it used to be. So the next best thing you could look for, 45,031 points by the way, not bad, is going to be a debug LEDs on the board, but those really suck to work with. But you know, if it's the most you can afford because we've decided to shift useful features out of affordability, then I guess that's the next best. So 45K, that's at 6 gigahertz, pretty damn good for first OC stream back. I'm happy with that. We're going to do all the super chats at the end, by the way. I got through a couple of them here, but we'll go through them all before we close. 6 gigahertz. What do I set the voltage to? 1.35, I think. And we did SoC, I'll double check, at 1 point something. We did VDD MISC at 1.2. And I think 6 gigahertz for core. That was 45,000 1,031 points. That's awesome. I'm personally really happy with that so far. It's not the best score out there by a long shot, but you know, this kind of stuff you gotta compete against your own scores first, and then worry about the others. All right, let's go up a little higher and take another question or discussion point. Someone said, what happens to the LN2 when it gets in the pot? So good question. You're seeing what happens to it. It basically turns into a gas immediately. And it'll sit in there as a liquid, in liquid form. But like, we'll do a shot of the ground, Andrew, just to show. Yeah, if you pour it on anything that's basically room temperature, it just evaporates immediately. You can kind of step on it and get a little more out. But pretty much instant evaporation, and that's why, like, the Leidenfrost effect is why, like, I can pour it on my skin and it just rolls off. It beads and rolls off, evaporates. Now, when it sits in there bubbling as a liquid for a long time, it could be because there's not enough heat, not burning it fast enough. It could be because you overpoured, stuff like that. All right, so that was at 1.35 volts. We're at 6 gigahertz now. My goal today is 6.3. It is going to get exponentially harder as we increase. 1.3 for SoC is what I said. 1.2 for miscellaneous. Let's just go up to 6100 and kind of baby step this, because we might need to increase the V-core again. I'm loving being back in OC stuff. This is really fun to do, because the last generation 5000 series, you could definitely still XOC it, but I felt like there was so much focus on things like memory, which I'm not particularly good at overclocking or anything, that it was less interesting to me. And this is like, you do a lot with this. It's been really fun to work on. And I think for 40 series GPUs, unfortunately there's not gonna be a KP card. Hopefully someone picks it up though and pushes like an XOC SKU, Galax maybe. We should look at the power consumption of the next one. All right. Yeah, someone pointed out they have liquid nitrogen cooled ice cream in San Francisco. Yes, that is, I think, Bearded Hardware, Joe Stepanzi, one of the overclockers in the industry. I think he knows how to do that, how to make ice cream with liquid nitrogen. Okay. Let's do a run. We're at 6.1. I don't think it's going to be stable at the 1.35 or whatever it was. But we have a lot of room. AMD, remember, was running at like 1.52 in their demos, 1.52 volts. Pretty high. You don't want to do that without liquid nitrogen or something, but at least not under load. Big difference between under load and idle, because idle there's no current, so not much. It's all about the current and the voltage, not just the voltage. So let's see how cold we can bring it down. It's at minus 80 right now. Mouse is still working this time. That's a good sign. We'll see. Oh, it froze up. Okay. All right. Probably from the mount quality, this seems to freeze up at about minus 83 for me right now. Let's do a question while I heat this up. And then we're going to increase the voltage too, just to do it. All right. Let's check the store. We got a couple orders. I'll shout a few orders out. Constantine in Australia. Awesome. Always cool to see the countries all over the world. The first one I opened happened to be Australia. Ordered a wireframe mouse mat. Thank you. We will sign that. As I said earlier, I'm going to sign every mouse mat, mouse pad that ships on the stream. We have links in the description below to the store pages for them. And I'm going to write the final score on it. Right now it's like 45K. I think we can go higher than that. So I'll write the score, I'll sign it, and we'll ship them all out sometime in the next couple weeks as I get through them all. Next one just came in from Justin in Texas. Bought a wireframe mouse mat as well. Thank you. Wireframe's popular. Mouse pad, GN component mouse pad going to Aaron in Missouri. States are scary, man. State initials, I am not good at them. I'm okay with country initials, but state initials I know like 4, so I normally just guess. Duncan from Ohio got a component one as well. And let's do one more and get back to it. I'm going to do my best. Man, I don't know how to say this name. It's Swiss. Going to Switzerland. Let's go with Mr. V. Mr. Viakasliv. I really want to pronounce things correctly, so we're going to go with pronunciation. Pronounce names, YouTube spam is not going to help me, unfortunately. So I'm going to ignore that because it's going to be the Google voice or Microsoft Sam saying it, and it'll be wrong anyway. Let's see if we can get this to boot. We need to heat this up. Let me take a super chat question. Thank you for the order, though. I'm sorry I could not quickly find pronunciation for your name. Ralphie, great question. 109, any plans to rip Jay? Yes, so if you haven't been here, for those in the past, Jay and I have had these really fun competitions back and forth. He calls it Rip GN, we call it Rip J, and we compete with each other for normally a top score in 3D Mark software, so like Port Royal or something. And the answer is, I guess, yes, but I needed 4090s in first to make it really fun. There we go. See, it just like boots instantly as soon as it's warm. And by warm, I mean minus 72.3 degrees Celsius. Let's go to 1.4. Let's try and make it. Let's do 1.45 just to make it easy. Not 2. That's bad. 1.45. What's the max frequency this will take? 10 gigahertz. We're not going to try. Uh-oh. I've broken it. Okay. 6.1. Increased VCore a lot just to try and get there quickly. Oh, thank you. Vyacheslav. Hopefully that's kind of close. I'm going from someone in chat. Vyacheslav, thank you. All right, Logan sent $2. Thank you. He said, just ordered a mouse pad, smiley face. I appreciate the super chat and the mouse pad. Either one of them is more than enough. Thank you for your support, especially during the streams like this. I love doing this stuff. I think on the GPU side, I'm a little hopeful that maybe Galax, like I said, will pull through. And what I really want to do is this plus the GPU and see what we can do at Port Royal. Get back into the competition a bit. Or do Intel 13th Gen and Z790, because Canepin over at EVGA just posted teasers of the new Dark boards, the Z790 Dark, and they look really good. So I would like to work with those for like a 13900K or something as well. But that'll be a little while till Intel's ready, really. I guess they're kind of coming out now, though. All right, we're at minus 75. And I think I set it to 6.1 at like 1.48 or 1.45 or something like that. It looks like it's going to complete this time. Yeah, nice. I'm going to run it again, though, just so it doesn't get too cold. 45.514. There's still some nitrogen there, so you're going to let it run. 45.514 or 13. At 6.1, 1.48. I'll double check. Okay, cool. And minus 75 for that. Wes says, I love the Rip J series, my favorite vids. Thank you. That is encouraging because I want to make more of them. Is that a higher or lower? That's higher. 45.597. Just replace that one. All right. Cool. Well, we only have 200 more megahertz to go to get to the goal of 6.3, and then I'm not going to try super hard to go 6.4, but we'll try it. And I guess I'll just say this now for those of you watching. We're not going to make a big deal out of this until closer. But if you're watching the stream, you get some behind-the-scenes info. Bill and Amit, who joined us from AMD, they're on AMD's XOC team, basically. They both have other functions at AMD, but they do XOC stuff, extreme overclocking. So we joined them to talk about their overclocking endeavors a couple days ago. You saw that. And they are actually going to be flying out here. And the plan, I'm still figuring this out, is either going to be like OC Battle, where clearly I will not win, but it would be fun, or strictly like let's just push one as far as we can as a team. You know how like if someone is working on their car and fixing something and they hand you a flashlight, that's what I'll be doing. I'll be the guy who's like, can I get you any more liquid nitrogen, sir? Would you like a refill? Because I have nothing of value to provide beyond that. But it'll be really fun. I don't know when exactly we're gonna do that, but it is scheduled. All right, let's go up to 6200. Let's see if we can still do 1.45 volts. To correct that, was not 1.48, it was 1.45. Okay. Someone said, can we see GPU and CPU on LN2? Yes, but let me get into the 40 series first. We did that for the 3090, I think someone reminded me. Who is joining? So yeah, Bill and Amit, they were in the XOC video we did recently. I think Bill's overclocking name is Samson. He's on Hardware Bot, if you want to look up some of his scores and stuff. All right. Got super chats we got to get through soon too. Let's do a refill here. So it feels like we've used about a third of this, so about 10 liters to answer that earlier question of how much LN2 do you use? Only one of those liters is on the ground. 1.5. A little bit easier to pour from these. So the reason I'm transferring, if you look at the rim of this one, so it's all like frosted over and iced. When I just went to pour, I noticed some of that go into the LN2 pot, which is bad. It won't hurt anything, but it will hinder our ability to get the nitrogen down as low as possible so it can burn off. So just switching so that we can use something that's a little fresh and cleaner. Also smaller pour, so it won't push as much of this ice down into the pot. All right. It's doing pretty well though. Like, I mean, I expect it to crash immediately because I said that, but I do like that the installation, for as simple as it is, yeah, seems to be holding up pretty well. We don't have a bunch of condensation. So that means I'm gonna need more voltage. Let's get a question in here. Denvera 1G1, $5, thank you, says, please flex your influencer mandibles to get a KFA2 or Galax Katana single slot 150 watt card like the old 1070 single slot. I don't know if they are going to care what I have to say about their future GPU plans. This has to be heated up. Someone said no gloves, OMG. That is correct. No gloves. The gloves have come off, mostly because the gloves were never on. But they are off. Yes, gloves get in the way for this. So fresh, so clean, someone said about the Corsair thermos. All right, GPU is a beast, yes. Yes, it is. Let's see. Digital Panhandler gave us $5. Well, thank you. Not really living up to your name, but says, I think you should go through insulating properly. Beyond that, just send it. That's worth briefly talking about. So that was from way earlier. Yeah, insulating properly is basically just, I've done it really lazily here, but it's kind of good enough. So first what I do is, where'd it go? We spread Vaseline all over the board. So This is not conductive, so it's not going to short anything, and you basically treat it like a paste, put it all over the board. It prevents water from getting onto stuff. So like if you imagine a droplet of water falls between, let's say, like 2 pins on the back of an inductor, or a MOSFET maybe more realistically, then the board could short. And it might not, or likely won't kill anything, but it will shut down, and that's not fun for overclocking. So you coat it with Vaseline. And then the next thing I do is I sort of reflow it, almost like solder reflowing, where I take a heat gun, and looking forward to getting demonetized now because YouTube is going to like AI detect this and be like, no, you don't get any money. So we take a heat gun and heat up the Vaseline on the board just enough to basically make it flow. And it will re-solidify as soon as you pull off the heat. But the point of it is to get it into like sort of the nooks in between things like capacitors really close together that you can't get easily otherwise. And it's a fantastic trick for just like spreading really any kind of semi-liquidy type of thing. And what else do we do? Do that on the front and the back. Really important to do it on the back. I got some under the socket, not under the socket front side, but on the back side, we put it in the basically AM5 plate on the back, and then heat that and flow it into the back of the socket. That's to prevent, there's basically, can't really quite see it, but basically you start to get these icicles coming off the bottom of the motherboard, and that will help prevent, as you know, when I torch it, it helps prevent it from turning to water and just shorting stuff. So that's all the insulation. Also, as you see, we've put blue shop towel everywhere, which is really good as an absorber. Also, this is a good time to look at this, at why we insulate. So if you look here, see how it's like the socket's completely frozen over. If you run warm too long, it's fine right now. As ice, it doesn't get in the way. But you know, if I have to heat it up too much and that melts, that's where the problem's from, and that's why the Vaseline's there. So really good example, I guess. Also, probably some of that will eventually work its way down, like into the pins or something. And normally the end result is you have to break it down. If it starts behaving really funny, and you do something like this, the immediate thing to do is stop. Because if you keep pushing it and it's behaving funny, you can't explain it. That's how you kill parts. But I have not killed any parts doing liquid nitrogen overclocking yet. Joe has, Bearded Hardware. I have not. He's also been doing a lot more of it, though, than I have, so to be fair to him. Let's go 1.52. There's still time. There's still time to kill parts today. I would prefer not to, though. Actually, let's see if there's anything else to change here. So we're at, let's go to 1.4 on dim. And 1.3 MISC, I'm happy. Let's go like 1.35 on SoC. I think 1.2 is probably fine here. We're upping the voltages a lot. We're just going to run it cooler to compensate. I'm going to get through all of these super chats, like I said, but we're kind of taking one at a time right now. All right. Vince Pimentel, thank you very much. $100 super chat is way too much, but thank you. Says, I really want to thank you and your team for the videos you make. I got into building and overclocking PCs a little after the 3000 series launch, and I've learned so much from you all. Priceless. That's a great time to get into PCs if you're able to get one like kind of before all those shortages. And 3000 series, you're not gonna have to replace for a long time, really. So, I mean, the last like 2 years, I feel like were either a really good time to join or really bad, depending on if you ended up kind of waiting for inventory. But there's the cool thing right now is like depending on what you're doing, all the parts like on the gaming side are just in super overkill territory. We saw this with the CPU reviews like 7950, where it's becoming really difficult to even show differences because we're just in such ridiculous, I need to put this back, ridiculous territory for frame rate. So the sort of power you have available to you today for a build is awesome and makes a lot of fun. The cost goes up, so that's downside. But I am looking forward to seeing all the custom water-cooled builds people do. I'm gonna try and run this colder. It's been unhappy every time I go to minus 80, but on the pot temperature, but I do think that's causing us problems right now. I don't really want to remount during a stream. That would be ideal though. Let's see if it lets us run colder though. Because I think that's probably our biggest limitation at the moment. Yeah, froze. I'm gonna guess that is because there is no cap nut on that corner, so
Joe's fault.
that is Joe's fault, basically. Yes, thank you, Andrew. Thank you for Andrew behind the camera has pointed out. It's Bearded Hardware's fault that it's not running below minus 80. I don't know, I was at like minus 115 earlier, so the mount is not that great. The way to fix it would be to completely torch it, blow it all off, and then remount it. Yeah, problem with that is it takes a lot of time because there is a lot of ice on here, and it is currently cold enough that it would hurt to handle, so I don't really want to do all that on a stream. So what we're going to do is I'm going to try and work with the minus 80 degrees room I have and see how far we can get with that. Yes, this is Shane in chat has put this well. Good time to join for performance, bad time for price. Yes, accurate. Tizo, $20, thank you. Says, geez, my backpack just broke. Can I say that here? No comment. Revenant, $2. Steve, what does the fox say? Not answering that question. Ryan R, which I almost read as Ryzen, it's been a long week, says, hashtag RipJV 2.0 question mark. There will be one. His time will come. Right now, he's in the lead on the charts from the 3090 Ti's, but that lead will not last forever. Especially if he can't get Kingpin to come and overclock it for him. You heard it here first. That's how he does it. He pretends he's doing all of the overclocking, but actually, Kingpin is flying out from Taiwan to Jay's office in California to do all the overclocking, and he even wears a Jay's 2 cents mask, and he stands on like those platform shoes that make you taller, so he looks exactly like Jay, but it's not him. I hope Jay's watching. I don't really have much else to do here for... We're just going to try this at minus like 78 or something and see if that's enough room. Lath Ben Trad says, thanks, Steve. Thanks, Lath. Thomas Rosted says, will 850 watt gold power supply be good for this Ryzen and one of the new gen's GPUs? A 7950X, I mean, so, like, realistically, I like to buy power supplies for full load situations because I want to have that total headroom if I ever need it. Realistically, you're probably not under both components at full load. It could happen, though. So if you have a 7950X at, like, say, 250 watts, chat's, like, exposed. They know that the J Kingpin thing is true. I'm glad that everyone's on the same page. If you have this at 250 watts and you have like say a 4090, 4080 at like, I don't know, 3 something, high 300, 400, 450 at the 4090 maybe, then my answer to that is no. Like I would buy higher than 850 watts. If you're buying a lower end GPU that caps at like 300, then yes, you're fine. But I like to buy enough power and the capacity in the power supply to soak a 100% load hit if there is one. Because then everything else, you're never going to have like a weird shutdown unless there's a really super bad transient spike. But there's not a lot you can do about those other than buy quality power supply. So answer to that question I think is no. I would buy a little higher if you're going to buy new 40 series stuff in the upper end. Now if you buy down at like a 7600X, you've just basically gotten yourself 100 watts of headroom. Of headroom, so you're in a better power consumption position for that. Damn. That message, that error when it pops up, normally means it's no good. It means the overclock is not good. Obviously. All right. Someone asked about the mod mat. So the mod mats, I'm not doing like a special signing thing during this stream. It's just the mouse mats and mouse pads, things for mousing surface specifically. And the mod mats we do like sell an autographed version if you want it, but it's a separate thing from the promo today. Okay. Billy Bo says, "Hey Steve, do you have any plans bringing back Ask GN?" I think if we do anything with it, it will probably be on the GN Extras channel or something once we get some more kind of editing bandwidth available. We're slammed with all these components right now. But I'd probably put it on GN Extras. It's just kind of like the way YouTube behaves type of thing. I like Ask GN for the lower pressure, like let's just answer a bunch of questions and kind of put it out there and help people who have those questions. But putting it on the main channel would almost like hurt overall performance at this point, because Q&As, they do really pretty well for the effort that you put in, and the people who like them really like them, which is why I like to do them. But then it's kind of hard to, YouTube is channel-wide performance, right? So you can't throw anything up there and hurt the overall performance. But that's what the side channel's for, because I don't really care how that one performs, so that's nice. I don't know what else to do here. I might have to wait for Bill and Amit to come out and help me. Oh, you know what? Let's do this. Let's drop F-clock. Let's try 1800 will probably work, but let's just bring it down to 1600, see if that helps. I'm gonna bring this back to like 1.52 or something. I have a feeling that's gonna help. Actually, let's drop the memory frequency as well, because we really don't need all this for just Cinebench. Let's go to 5200 and see how that goes. I was gonna say I have a good feeling about this, but I think it can hear me, so I won't. Next one, Wayne McAllister, $50, thank you. Again, way too much. I will read the question if it's $2. You don't have to send that much, but thank you for the support. Great to catch a stream again. Let's see some good old science. We have done some of that. The most interesting part of this stream was building the table. I'll go over it. So first off, what's the highest current score I have? It's 45,597 points. That was at 6.1. And then for the scaling, so we saw scaling all the way up to 5,700, 5.7 gigahertz, all core, 0 overclock, not doing anything, just running it as it behaves natively. 5.7 gigahertz minus negative 70 at negative 70 degrees Celsius, which is crazy that boosting behaves like that now. Next one. Will the FAT 4090 not cover other PCIe slots? It will. Toxic says, can you add some Monster Energy to the LN2 pot for extra speed? No, unfortunately. I would not do that even if they gave me money to do that. It would probably, I feel like it is not conducive to liquid nitrogen boiling. HA says, close the main liquid nitrogen vase. You mean this? Like close this, like this lid? Just to help reduce the burn off, right? Next one. VC Jester, does this stream have a warranty? No. Chance, $2, channel support. Keep fighting the good fight for us. Thank you. Okay, cool, booted, all right. I was told by Bill from AMD that last time we did one of these with AMD CPUs, he was in chat giving advice, but because chat is chaos when you ask for advice, I was not only not sure it was the Bill I knew from AMD, I also probably didn't see it. So I'm trying to like keep an eye on that too in case he pops in with some sage advice for stability at 6.2. We might get it with that memory change though. Let's go to -75. Try and get colder this time now that it's F-clock. Maybe it was F-clock. Maybe it was messing with its ability to run cold. Is it gonna crash or no? Yeah, but it didn't totally shut down, so that's good at least. Okay. Damn. It's still doing that. It's a mount. I'd have to remount it, I think, to really get a good result out of the end, but almost 6.3. What's the best option? Remount will get the best results. Let's do some questions. Gregory's Brain. I'm going to send you 4 proper nuts as well as hold downs with springs for your next session. Definitely consider a heated backplate from KPC or Elmore Labs. Thank you. I appreciate that. The springs make a lot of sense for sure, and heated backplate also. I'll talk to Vince, but I'll just order one from him. Elmore makes really cool stuff for anyone who doesn't know. If you look up Elmore's Lab or something, he sells a lot of really cool gear for overclocking. Formerly Asus, I think. Asus overclocker. And he does that on his own. And has some really cool stuff that's like enthusiast. Yeah, you want to do something new with your computer type of gear. Okay. I think we got to just start like going through super chats. I'm going to cut off the super chats. So I'm going to read everything we have right now. Everyone who has sent one, I'm going to read it. We've gotten through some of them already. But I'm going to cut off at this point the super chats. So any after this time, which I'll type on the screen, we will not read. Let's add a couple minute delay in case there's some that are getting typed right now. So let's say no more, not reading super chats sent after 10:32 p.m. Is that accurate? Yes. Close enough. Okay, cool. All right. Cool. So those, don't send any more of those. I'm going to get all the ones that are in there, though. This I don't know what to do with it at this point, but we'll try. I think the answer is, I guess, like I said, remount. All right, next one is from, oh, hey, that's a good question. Adrian sent in a super chat, said, what's that subway map in the background? You want to zoom in on that, Andrew, if you can get a good shot of it? That is a X570 poster that we did, I don't know, over a year ago, I guess. We didn't make a ton of them. It was like a limited time thing, and it's really cool because it has the lane assignment coming out of it. So what you're seeing is basically the visualization of a block diagram of a chipset and a CPU, where you see AMD and Intel make those block diagrams, except this visualizes it on a motherboard silhouette as a subway map, and it's actually accurate. Now, there's a couple ways you can represent the chipset lanes, so we kind of chose a couple of them, and yeah, it's really cool. We'll probably do another one at some point. Okay. Dr. Cool, $3, no message. Thank you. Derek Pearson said, I know it ain't much, but I want to say thanks for the information, learning, and entertainment you have given the last 3 years. Appreciate it. Well, thank you for the direct support. It is I've said this in the past streams, but you know, if you're talking like AdSense versus $1 in a super chat is a big difference, where the dollar is much more immediately helpful to us. So thank you. No one has to send that stuff. We greatly appreciate it, though, and Andrew and I are going to spend it on fast food after the stream because I'm starving. Although I don't know what our options are going to be depending on when we stop. Although I think you would be happy with the option that's the highest amount of the highest value. He's nodding because he knows, Andrew knows the code in which I speak. Okay, that's not working. I might call it here on the overclocks. We're so damn close though. It is running at 6.2. But I have to weigh between like, I could get another run in, fix the mount, probably run 6.3, but there's so many super chats I want to get through them. So I'm going to do that, I think, just because I don't want people to have sent a message and not get an answer. So I want to prioritize this. So to quickly recap, I really want to get that to 6.3 because it is possible. I could ask Patrick to like remount that, but I'm gonna let him try and get out the door because he probably wants to leave soon. So, all right, I'm gonna let that chill for a minute, and we'll do chats, and I'll think about what the next step is. Okay, let's see. VC Jester, why do you pronounce Jif wrong? Were you bought by Big Peanut Butter? I mean, I wouldn't mind a sponsorship from them because there's no influence with computer hardware. So if they're watching, I will continue to pronounce it Jif if I get like royalty every time I say it that way. Sure. Next one, Daniel Silva. Proud to support the GN team. Thank you. Matthew Garcia. Any word on when the limited foil skeleton shirts will be shipped out? Also love the new in-depth content pieces. Keep them coming. Yes. So they are shipping in October. We're on schedule for those, and then for the content pieces, thank you so much for specifically saying that, because the deep dive type stuff we've been doing, not necessarily just testing, but like the more like, I guess, reporting or investigation pieces I really like working on, but they're incredibly difficult to put together properly. So I'm glad people like them. Max Sampson says, money towards the CPU heater. Thanks, Steve. Thank you. I will go order one from Vince Kingpin tonight. Garino says, why is there a missing thumb screw on the pot? Well, the answer is apparently because I didn't want to run at the maximum frequency we'd be able to. I don't have another one here. V Productions, referring to my earlier quick fan mount system, QFMS, says it's a terrible acronym. Everyone knows that tech acronyms need at least one X. It's true. That's why my new company is called XX Destroyer _XX, and there's a capital X on each side. So we've got many X'en covered. Jonathan, $50, says, how did you have the foresight to build a power testing lab before this generation? Well, let's just call it luck. Hopefully not clairvoyance. James296, you did put it on a separate breaker so you don't lose power to the whole building, right? Yes, it is. Well, it's not on a separate circuit from the streaming system, so if it all goes down, then probably I haven't died. It's just that the circuit tripped. But we're not pulling that much power, I don't think. Although, that actually, I do want to see how much it's pulling. Even though it's not stable, we can at least get a look at the number on the meter. So we'll let it run until it crashes and just see what it ends up saying. All right, let's see what we got. There you go, 308, 391, and then it crashed. I'm guessing it would go into the 400s, or at least at 400 total system power. It's actually not too crazy. Christopher Reeks says, no, nothing, just $2. Well, thank you anyway. Gregory's Brain, don't forget to glaze the pot with the torch around -50 to -80 to combat light and frost effect on the pot. Yes, that is something that I'm aware of, but I do actually forget to do it. Christopher Reek sent another one with a message this time. Will this make a difference with Ryzen 7000 series CPUs, smart access memory, and the current Radeon video cards? Will this make a difference? CPUs and smart access memory. If you mean like this type of overclocking, then only the difference you get from the CPU. And if I didn't understand the question, then sorry. VC Jester, mobile makers, look at me. I am the scalper now. It would be funnier if it weren't true. Denvera 1G1 says 7600X is entry level. Fight me. Show me a Ryzen 3 or Athlon that isn't 3 generations old. An entry level PC should not cost $1,200 without a GPU. I completely agree with you. It is far too high of an entry cost. Tyler Vining, Only recently found your channel. I must say I absolutely love this content. Thank you for keeping us up to date and knowledgeable and well-informed. Cheers. Well, I would like to say that we could take credit for that, but ultimately it is you doing the research and watching the stuff to stay informed. So thank you for watching it. Let's see. Got another one from Kopaz who says, yo, 1030 ate so much, it takes 4 PCIe lanes now. Next one, Mustangs by Matt says, great to see the Patricks streaming XOC again. I'm guessing part 2 of Power Mac G5 video is dead. Yes, that was a monster of a project. And we ended up basically ditching it. I got a 7950X, but can't find any motherboards in stock. I saw some on Newegg earlier. I'm not a big fan of buying motherboards from Newegg, but I did buy one, and there were a lot of them in stock at the time. I don't know if they still are, though. All right. I'm just going to keep going through all the super chats. We have a good amount of them to go through. And like I said, I want to do more of that, but I don't know. I always struggle with this with streaming, where it's like I don't want to just ignore these because I really do want to provide answers, but then we're trying to stream for that. So I don't know if there's maybe in the future we'll do like an after show or something. It's a lot of ice. So next one is from Mirrodin Emrys. Says, will you be signing mod mats as well as mouse pads? We are just doing the mouse pads and mouse mats today. The mod mats are a separate thing if you want to get them signed. Silent Node, no message. Thank you. Anyway, Xenotech Studios. I know you've been asked this in the past, but have you guys ever thought about eventually reviewing workstation CPUs like TR Pro or low-tier Xeons? Yes, we've reviewed a few, but it's been a while. I would like to do Threadripper Pro. I don't have any plans. We'll probably look at like 7000 series next, though. But we have looked at a lot of Threadripper CPUs in the past. Phoenix 7289 says, here's another super chat to force Power Mac video info. I bought the t-shirt that guy was wearing in that episode. Please tell us. I don't remember what shirts we were wearing in that episode, but yeah, the second video for that we basically just dropped because it was like too much editing flow stuff, but I don't know. I've thought about like throwing it up on GN Extras and just kind of running it as close to done as it was. Next one is from Tilda, who says, Steve, would a Fuma 2 be hopeless on AM5? No. I think a Fuma 2 would definitely do fine with a 7600X. Maybe, probably a 7700X. Beyond that, I'm not sure. Houston Firefox, actually, oh, where'd it go? Uh-oh. Okay. Actually feel stupider for watching this, avoiding the Tide Pod live streams. I don't know what that means. Boomir Patel says, looking to get the medium mod mat. Paul's review mentioned the mod mat scored low on the flatness reflectivity index. Has that been addressed in the new version? Thank you for your honesty and integrity. Yes, the solution is to unroll it and then leave it there, and it will become flat. Or you put stuff on the corners. Robo Thalis says, does XMP work? Couldn't find Expo 64 gigabyte 6000 megatransfer kit today. Yeah, XMP still works, so that's a great question. You can still run XMP on these platforms. And Expo just has more sub-timings that it tunes, so you will get better timings overall with Expo because there's more of them like TFAW, but XMP you can still use it. Blendinator sent 100 Canadian, which is far too much, but thank you. Good to see you back too in the chat. Got a 5950X HX1200i 3060 Ti, looking to possibly jump on a 3090. Do I need that 12VH power cable that Corsair is selling for the 4000s? 4000 series. Also, 1200 watts. Is that plenty of PSU power? For what? Oh, to jump on a 3090, you're fine. You don't need the 12VH power cable. Oh yeah, there was some. I guess there's. I don't know where the source for this was. Corsair actually sent us a press release earlier. They sent it to everyone. That was basically like, hey, just clarifying, you can still run the 4000 series on old power supplies. So that, to further clarify, you don't need those 12 pins. There are adapters, and you just plug a bunch of 8s into it, and it'll work the same way. Island Red, have a 3900X, thinking of upgrading to a 7900X, or waiting to see if there's a Vcache variant next year. I saw the insane ASRock Taichi Carrera. The Taichi Carrera is kind of funny. I think that's the one with like the marble finish on it. I have not seen that one personally, like in person yet. Vcache variant, I think, so we know there's going to be Vcache already. AMD has publicly said it, and next year is going to be when it comes out at this point for sure. I think we'd know otherwise. Let me get some. Next one is from Fondler says, so small form factor with these 7000s, ... Good question. My answer is no. You could do it, but with the 7950X, it's going to be rough. Like, maybe not possible, I guess. Blendinator. Typo, I meant the 4090, not the 3090 in my previous chat. Okay, same answer. 1200, though, I don't know about power. You should be okay, unless the transients are, like, insane bad, but I think you're fine. Leviathan Prim picked up a mouse pad. Wonder if the score will be higher than my Threadripper 3960X. Hey, I guess the score I'm going to be writing on that is going to be like 40. It's almost 46K, but like 45. What did I get early in pre-testing? That was not too far off, so we landed pretty close. Next one, Intel Edits. Big fan. How's your day going? First of all, thank you, and secondly, pretty well, because I got to work on this stuff again, and I am really excited to do more. Like I said, AMD's coming out. We're going to do one of these with them, and that's why this is like great as a precursor, because what's going to happen is when we have the experts from AMD's team on, I'm going to say, hey, I got stuck under these conditions, and I was having trouble dropping the temperature further. Do you think it was just a mount issue? What do you think it was? And I will be able to learn from that, improve in the next ones. And then also, it's fun information for you all. So my day, to answer the question, is going great. Thank you. Randall Black says, I have an MSI B450 game black, 2700X, Ballistic Sport 16-3000. I'm upgrading to a 3060 OC and adding an H100i. Should I do a memory or a CPU upgrade? If you upgrade the CPU too much, then you are also doing a memory upgrade, I guess, and a board upgrade. So 16 gigabytes. I mean, I think CPU upgrade, unless it's like a single stick, then I would do a memory upgrade. Unless you're, running out of volatile capacity. Dog says, big ups to my boys over at GN. Yeet. There you go. Now you can clip me saying that. Excellent. SatNav. How much energy does an overclocking session use average? I don't know. Combined? I'm not sure. So you're really only running for like a couple minutes at a time at full power. It's only at 90 watts right now. So yeah, with GPU and CPU, the most I've done is 2 power supplies, both 1600 watt power supplies. And it was 2 GPUs and a CPU. And I think we were in total pulling about 1600 watts. I had 2 power supplies because, 1600 watt power supply, cutting it a little close. So you'd run the GPUs off one and the CPU off the other. The most I've personally ever seen for a single component was 1000 watts. I think it was Roman. I think it was Der Bauer at a trade show, and I forget what it was, but it was some CPU. And he was very close to 1000 watts. It was like an Intel X something CPU, X series. VC Jester, Bounty paper towel sponsor when? I don't know, but if the Blue Shop towel people, I use the product and I like it, so can I have money now? Is that how it works? Next one. This is a good question. Dog, predictions for Radeon 7000 series. My prediction is that AMD is looking at what's happening with NVIDIA right now, hopefully. Hopefully AMD is doing some competitive analysis here. And hopefully they're saying, wow, people are really upset about this. What do we do to fight it? I would hope the answer is we're going to fight on power efficiency or on overall power consumption being lower because people don't like that with what's being announced right now, and we're going to offer an option that is not otherwise available. That's my prediction, is that they're hopefully looking at this. You know, they're probably locked in at this point with the components, so nothing's really changing, but I would hope they're looking at it going, okay, there's some room for us to come in a little cheaper. We can compete on price like we always have, and we can push the angle of power. BJN714 says Igor's lab says 1.4 volts is safe for VSOC on Zen 4. That's good to know. I'm going to blindly trust you. Set it to 1.4 and see if anything happens. Next one is from Nori SS, who, let me get this reboot, who says, just wanted to congratulate Zeta for joining GN team. It's been a long time coming, almost as long as we've been waiting for episode 2 of Snowflake, my cat, versus inanimate objects. It would be easy to do another one of those, so maybe I should. Mustangs by Matt says, I want to give props for the way you handled the backpack warranty situation as the man once said, I don't know who that is. Okay, I mean, I appreciate it. I don't really want to get into that topic anymore. I feel like I said a lot about it already, and I'm happy with where it's standing, but thank you. Greyhawk Garage says, at this CPU frequency multiplier, is the benchmark running into memory bandwidth issues threaded for the win? It depends, right? So like Cinebench is, we'll just do like a Hail Mary run, I guess. Cinebench is not really using anything in terms of memory, so we're okay there. But if you start talking about maybe like 7-zip, well, I don't know, maybe not. I'm trying to think of something memory bound off the top of my head. Kind of a weird option because it's a game, but I guess Total War becomes pretty memory like timings and bandwidth bound sometimes under some conditions. The real answer is I'm not sure when this, like, we're on ridiculous frequency territory, so I'm not sure when it would become memory bound. It would, though, because I've dropped the memory a lot for stability, and you're trading, you know, performance and other applications for that. So yes is the answer. Just depends on the application, though. Okay, next one while we wait for that to boot. Adam Hop, is the heatsink Gen 5 necessary for 7950X, the Kraken X73? Does it seem like ASRock is sufficient for or more future-proof to go with an MSI motherboard? Your like future-proofing is not really going to change between ASRock or MSI. You're talking about in terms of like in-socket upgrades later. I don't know. They both support kind of the same things. AMD ultimately provides the code for the baseline BIOS for all that anyway. So that question, either one. Heatsink Gen 5 necessary. That I'm not sure what exactly that means. Unless I'm not sure what that means. Maybe SSDs, Gen 5 SSD heatsink. I think so. I haven't tested it personally, but they do get very hot. Farron Cat says, any plans to test PCIe Gen 3 versus 4 performance for 4000 series? Yes, definitely. That is a really interesting topic. Jason Bowen, $10. No message, thank you. Darren Reed. Will you do a video maximizing the efficiency of Zen 4 like 7950X? It seems strange that previous generations look more efficient per clock. Yeah, so I know there's been some interest in eco mode. We actually talked about running that. Useless. We actually talked, I just got a bunch of water with some on too. Talked about running eco mode for the review, but we were way up against the wire. Thing was like 30 minutes long already, and we're like, you know what? Everyone's tired, like let's do that later. So still interested in eco mode. I need to get it out of this bench and back into the normal test bench to do that. But that would be your efficiency test. So eco mode just basically cuts the CPU performance down and reduces the power at the same time. The reason we didn't test it, other than just, you know, like I said, logistically, It's also because we're looking at it like, this makes sense as a follow-up since you are now exiting an out-of-box use case and you are willingly reducing the performance of the CPU, even if it's maybe insignificant for power, and it just feels weird to be like, I bought this thing and I reduced the performance. So we decided we'd save it for follow-up. But the answer is yes, there is interest for sure. It's not really cold enough, but we'll see what happens. Yeah. Yep, stability. I think it's going to be stuck where it is. Figured we'd try one more run with those changes. Yeah. Probably want some more bolts. Yeah, okay. Worth a try. All right, next one is Jason Bowen. I bought pretty much everything in the GN store. Jeez, thank you. Can you make more stuff? A hat would be neat. We've made hats. It's been a while. I could look into it again. It's been a couple years since we made them. You looking for one, Andrew? Yeah, there used to be one in the set before we moved. I kind of liked the one we made previously. I don't know, maybe we could add those back in and get one up there for you. But thank you, that's crazy. So thank you for buying all that stuff. It's crazy to me to hear, you know, like, I was talking about this the other day. To me, the company is still like, it's being run out of basically like a 9 by 10 foot bedroom company. So to hear that people are buying the stuff we sell and like it that much is awesome. So thank you for the support. It is a big change, obviously, from where we were years ago. That's what gets us like to where we are. So thank you. Tuna says, "Are you guys going to sign the front or the back of the mouse pad?" Already bought one. By the way, love you, Steve. Thank you. I'm going to sign the front. So I always sign the top right or top left, but I sign a corner where I think it's unlikely that the mouse will be. Let's see. Chris Osterhout says, "We deserve to know about the bagel incident." The Costco bagel incident. Perhaps I'll give all the details one day, but I need to consult with legal experts on it. I'll say this much first. You know how Costco's are like 1.5 miles long? And they make you buy stuff in bulk, and you're like, I don't want to walk 1.5 miles to get the other one. Can I give you the same money for half of the stuff, and then you profit a lot, so I can leave? And I'm going to leave the story there. There's your cliffhanger. Next stream we'll talk about it. Fan24DRR. She's done ski, Steve. That's a Camping quote for people who don't know. Percept. What's the best liquid cooler 7950X with its added temperature threshold? We're working on that. How do you think Intel CPU lowering their base clock significantly? I haven't looked at the specs yet for those. Best liquid cooler with its added threshold. So for 7950X, we saw scaling definitely in 360s and 280s. So there is a rift that forms like from a 240. So it is worth considering a 280 or 360 to get like the full performance out of the sort of threshold. You are in diminishing returns though as you scale up, because you're talking like, you know, 10, 20, 50 megahertz, something like that. But you might be spending like $100 more. So there's kind of a limit to the value. But you will see scaling with 360s. I haven't tested beyond that yet. HD88 sent $10. No message. Thank you. We're almost through to the cutoff I set for the super chats. Actually, there's a good amount more. Alex Bartholomew says, thoughts on OEM liquid-cooled GPUs? Planning EVGA 3080 FTW3 or liquid-cooled as part of a pre-pandemic $2,000 upgrade for my system. 7900 due to schoolwork and programs. Okay. So thoughts on liquid-cooled GPUs being the question. I like them. You know, we've tested a lot of like hybrids over the years, and they did really well. There's a ton of interest in them in the 900 series. So I do think that you do get a higher frequency out of it. If you can fit the radiator, then you get a far better performer in like a small box like ITX or something. And it's just a lot more money. And if you have good air cooling, then it's not worth it. But if you don't, or if you're running like memory on the backside or something like 3090s, then it becomes very worth it functionally, not just from like the looks and stuff. Let's see. Daniel says, would you consider determining cooler effectiveness proper mounting via a Cinebench score, an effective method with Zen 4? Let's see. Would I consider determining cooler mounting via Cinebench effective? No, I would not. That's not. So Cinebench will get you to like max temperature right away on these things because that's how they're designed. But it's not really an effective way because you're not going to hit steady state. So you really need to be running like 20 to 30 minutes on sort of as a wide net to hit steady state and know if the CPU is really working properly. Cinebench would be good for just determining, like, okay, it's you know, it's not hard throttling. It's kind of running as expected. Next one. Average Joe, $10, no message, thank you. Leviathan Prim. Hey Steve, has that Corsair 1500i power supply replaced the former LN2 PSU named Steve? Yes, there was one floating around the office with, I put a sticker on it that said Steve because I modified it for LN2 OC. And yes, this one has currently replaced it. Grant Universal. What are your thoughts on 90-degree motherboard cases? Are risers a replacement? I don't see why we would try to fight convection properties. I love the channel. Thank you. So I like 90-degree motherboard cases. If you're talking about like the RV02 is actually crazy good. Bringing all that cold air in that close to the GPU is what makes it good. Fighting convection, you're not really fighting it ultimately. You know, like you have fans that are blowing like 2,000 RPM. They kind of take priority there. So although you are technically going against what naturally occurs, the natural behavior of the like a heat rising thing, it only really matters in a passive system. Once you're in the high airflow camp or using any water cooling, even just like lower airflow, none of it matters anymore. Like the molecular movement naturally just becomes irrelevant. So Hank Hill, no message, thank you. Armin says, unrelated question, do you guys do CPU coolers tests on a desk bench or in a case? Because I think test bench gives advantage to AIOs. So we test them on test benches, and the shortest possible reason I can give for why is because cases change everything. It's too much of a variable because you're like, what case do we choose? Okay, this cooler, this 420 cooler doesn't fit at the front. All the other ones are at the front. What do we do? Put it at the top. Now it's not like for like anymore. You've completely changed the dynamic. It's not really a fair comparison, so that's why we do it that way. The goal is always to create the most comparable and fair data unit to unit. Brian Dormady says, did GN get blacklisted by Gigabyte or ARS after calling out their explodey crap? Saw a few tech tubers with press kits, curious if yours will ever arrive. So the way these boards got sent out was AMD basically chose what goes out. So Gigabyte, I don't think they like actively chose not to. I communicated with someone in their Taiwan office recently. I don't think they have a problem with what we said about their power supplies in company-wide. I think the power supply team probably is not happy, but it seems like everyone else is okay. So we weren't alone, even internally, on those opinions. I was going to let this thaw a little bit and see if I can get like a quick remount while we go through the rest of these, but it's going to take a while for that to melt. Oh, hey, Bill Alverson, $10.01. Bill works for AMD. Bill, we cannot take money from AMD. I'm sorry. I will give you $10.01 when you're here for the overclocking. Bill says, so he's the extreme overclocker who appeared on the video. Says, getting in some practice, huh? Good luck. Me and Amit are doing an LN2 live stream right now, actually. What? Says, I wonder why we'd be doing that. Amit says hi. And that's just like not even fair. So I don't brain it. You know, when you come out here, how about I will have an electrician come out and ask them to install the dirtiest wall power outlet possible. I'm going to ask them to just like maybe wind up a bunch of copper, so we have like a couple miles of copper in the wall, and then we're going to plug you into that, and we'll see how you do with your overclock then. Ulysses says, any chance of return Rip J next month? Probably. Fatboy DH88 says, Steve, I need a good Z390 board. Can you make me a decent deal on one, please? We're not really a retailer, so unfortunately no, but you could probably find some on eBay still. Dirk Mandarin is asking about the bagels at Costco. That story's going to have to wait. VC Jester says, out-of-the-box thermals, AMD Wraith Cooler 95C, Noctua NHD 1595C, EVGA 360 AIO 95C. Yes, that is how it would work now. It's weird, right? Like now you're looking at the frequency, not the thermals for a cooler. We got like another couple pages of these. I'm doing my best to go through them efficiently, but also provide meaningful answers. Chia, do you like the ROG Hero board? Actually, yes. I liked working on the Asus board more than this one so far. But that one I didn't want to modify because we use it for our reviews. But yeah, it was good to work with. Very expensive though. The Laser Pew Pew says, hi, could you look at the leak voltages when you do undervolting on these chips? Could help the efficiency a lot, couldn't it? Yes, absolutely. Undervolting this time is going to have a huge impact on, well, in theory, if it's stable anyway, on the power consumption, the efficiency of it. And that's where you see like eco mode. Just dropping in, did we set any records? No, but I wasn't trying to. We set personal records for this one. 6.2-ish is where I kind of got stuck, so. Okay. Let's see. Jaron Sepp says, almost missed it. Watching GN for a year now and love it. Keep it going. Greetings from the Netherlands. Greetings. Thank you. Project Remastered says, what keyboard are you using? Both of them. Well, I hope you're not a keyboard enthusiast. This is this is the famous iBuyPower gaming keyboard. So, as you can see from the thickness of the cable, very high quality. And this is the Microsoft X800152-001 Digital Media Pro keyboard. Does it have a copyright on it? Please have a date. Where is the date? I actually really like this keyboard, but because it's quiet for streams. Is there no copyright date? Really? I don't know if it's from the 90s or it's got to be 2000s. It's not beige enough for 90s. Well, that's the keyboard. Apparently there's a patent pending on it. I wonder if it ever got approved. Next one. Evil Madness. Steve, I know you have more 7950Xs hidden away. You must send them to me, along with all the 4090s you still have under NDA. Send them over here. Nope. That's the only one in that system. I'm just reading the comments now on the keyboards. You absolute monster, someone says. No, a lot of O's, someone says. The second one is neat. I agree. Evil Madness, we got yours. Bobby0081 says, I picked up some coasters to go with the desk mat I already have. Thank you. G Action 64. Glad to see you doing an OC live stream. Always a great learning experience for me as well. I wanted to apologize for abusing super chats. I don't remember that, but with the way super chats work, I think it's fine. Tyler Espy says, As someone who works in satellite engineering, I can safely say that the radiation would fry any consumer-grade CPU. Oh, we're talking about overclocking in space earlier. That's what this is. If you ignore that, under cold space-facing conditions, it would overheat. Yes. And I guess also, guess that's where heat pipes come in. NASA originally published the papers on those. X-Rod, might be a stupid question. It's not. Why are you using that crap GPU? I find that offensive. That GPU is not crap. That GPU is one of the best video cards ever. Because it's kind of like a rental car. It's like the rental car is the fastest car you'll drive because you don't care about it. That video card, well, that's not going to go fast, but that video card can take some abuse from the liquid nitrogen overclocking on the CPU and not become a problem. So I mean, that's the real answer. Is it's just it doesn't matter because we're doing Cinebench, and I wanted to use something that didn't get in my way. Phoenix 7289 says, any chance you can speak on Photoshop versus Lightroom benchmark comparisons? No, unfortunately, I have no idea really about how Lightroom behaves. Only Photoshop. Do you feel Liquid Freezer 2280 would handle these Zen 4 chips? Yeah, no problem. 280 is definitely good. I actually used the 280. I used this one to do pre-testing before I went to LN2. So that's 280. And what were we at? We did, I think I did 5.3 gigahertz all core with this, so it's enough for sure. By the way, when we close the stream out, we're going to end the promo here, but if you buy any mouse pads or mouse mats during the stream, I will be signing them, and I'm going to be writing, it looks like 45K on it for the next to the signature for the score we got earlier. Let's see. Mark Spark says, if I contact support, would it be possible to add something to my skeletal t-shirt order so I don't have to pay shipping twice? Also, a lot of people in chat asking you to wear gloves. Show them why not. First question, I think so. I mean, I guess it depends on how large the item is, but it hasn't shipped yet, so definitely you can contact support at gamersnexus.net and include your order number. You'll get an answer a little bit faster that way. And just to ask, he's pretty good about figuring that stuff out, so if he has to adjust like the rate or whatever, he'll do that for you, but you know, if it's like a small item they just put in the same bag, then it should be no problem at all. Depends what it is though, but he definitely can add stuff for you. James Young, any known issues with the Asus TUF Gaming Pro Wi-Fi 2? Not that I know of. We only have this board and the ROG and some cheaper ones that I haven't really worked with yet. And by cheaper, I mean $300 with no postcode. Philip Hartman, hasty for the reviews. Do you think the new GPUs and CPUs need detailed power and temp stats during different workloads? Yeah, I think so. I was thinking about that today because 100% render workload versus like gaming workload, it behaves differently, obviously. So we test under the most extreme condition because repeatable, it's the worst case scenario, but we might need to start adding some additional tests for that. Next one. I think I can get through these. My voice is starting to go pretty hard though. Eternal Rogue says, I'm running an MSI 280 AIO. In only a few months, it has lost water. That's not good. And has allowed my 11700K to start hitting 100T. Also, not good. Is an EK280 enough of an upgrade? Should I go 360? So first of all, if it's within a few months, you should contact MSI. I think they had an issue with those coolers, but I haven't looked into it. I think there's a known issue though. I mean, I was gonna say like try and get a replacement, but it's like if it's gonna do it again, it doesn't matter. At least try and get your money back or something. EK280 is good though. If it's one of the ones we've tested, we have reviews on like the 360s at least, so the 280s with the same family. So I would say 280 for an 11700K, no problem at all. You don't need a 360 for that. Costa says, I want to build a gaming PC centered around the 3060 or 3070. Should I invest in 7000 series or go with the old 5000 CPUs, old in quotes there, or go to Intel? 5000 is a lot cheaper. So 3060 or 3070, if you're not gonna upgrade GPUs for a while, you can save a lot of money going 5000 series, and it frees up more money for the GPU. I think that's probably the way to go with what I'm reading here. Your question of or go Intel, you could. The 12400, 12600K are both worth considering. I hit the button on the table. Bazinga X, $100 is way too much, but thank you. And thanks for coming back to the stream. Will you be doing this kind of test on 13th gen? Absolutely. I'm waiting until I see test results on 13 before I decide on AMD or Intel. I liked 13th gen as it supports DDR4 and 12th gen motherboards. And then it says half of the money is for treats for Snowflake. That is a lot. That is a lot of treats. She will not be allowed to eat all of those at the same time. We will be doing this test on 13. And then, let's see. Like that 13th gen supports older motherboards. Yeah, I will be testing it with that too, so it shouldn't be too long. Has the OC started yet? Yes, it is over. The OC is finished, but we got to 6.2 gigahertz, kind of stable. I think I could do 6.3 with a better mount on this, but we kind of shut it down because I saw the super chats building up, and I was saying earlier, like, I always really try to answer all those before we end the stream. So we pushed all those to the end. We got up to 6.2 or so. We scored about 45K on this 7950X. I'm really happy with it, honestly. I know I can do better with it, but for a first try out on the AM5 stuff, pretty happy with the result. And we'll learn more soon when AMD has their people coming out. Next one, Gabriel Freytag says, is it okay to run a 3070 or a future 4070, don't know on that, with a 3600 and a 650 watt power supply? No, I mean, the 4070 doesn't exist. I have no idea. 650 is enough for a 3600 and a 3070, though. Do you think high temperature will cause problems in the long run? Their power delit and dropped 20 degrees. Yeah, so I don't really know. That's the tough part. Dropping by 20 degrees is also interesting because it's like upgrading coolers also like drops the temperature, but not really. It drops it, but then it boosts back up, so you regain the what you would have traditionally dropped. Remember though that you can lock the frequency and voltage if you want to stick somewhere. All right, next one. Jeff says, I'm running a 12900K and 3090 Ti. What would be the best way to set up a 360 AIO and a 240 GPU AIO for best cooling? I'm using a 5000X case. I would probably do the GPU in the front, I think, and the CPU in the top, just because otherwise the tubes are going to be a mess. That's how I would do it. Pino Yako 11705 says, seeing how well the 58X3D stacks against Ryzen 7000 in gaming, are you curious how the 58X3D will be versus eco mode Ryzen 7000? Curious, yes. We will test it at some point. I just don't know when yet. But I mean, it'll just be more efficient, but lower performance, I guess, 7000. James says, are you running with global C states enabled? Disabling allowed by 5950X, it should say, to 5.125 gigahertz on PBO with C0 tuning. My GPU would pull 128 watts at idle. Yeah, we run C states off for this stuff, or actually, I meant to. I think I didn't set that one earlier, but I normally do for this. Not for reviews, though. We just leave it auto. Okay. How many more of these do I go through before we hit the cutoff point? Couple pages. I think I can make it through all these. Yeah. Voice is going this time. I haven't streamed in a while, so I'm out of practice apparently on talking. Juan says, PC fan Q. I have an 011 mini. Budget isn't a concern. what would be the quietest, most efficient fans I could get? RGB is essential because pretty colors make me happy. Fair enough. I plan on doing a custom loop. I like the straightforward, like, I want it because I like it. Good enough answer. That's all that really matters. So, 11 budget, 11 mini, no budget. Quietest, most efficient fans, the RGB. I don't know. RGB, I'm not super informed on. I know the LL Corsair fans look really good. I know that they are also not very good performers. So maybe for looks good, that might fit. We've used those Thermaltake like Quad Ring or whatever they're called fans. I don't know, because performance I can help with, but RGB I really can't. So I don't know how to mix the two because I haven't worked on any like performance RGB stuff. The Maglevs are good performers, and if you like how they look, that'd be a good one. Bobby0081. Would a 13900K be a noticeable upgrade from a 10850K? I don't know. We don't have them yet, but we'll let you know soon. Daz555. Can we get the clocks at 95C with zero cooler? Yeah, zero. 0 megahertz is what it will do with no cooler. It will not stay on for very long at that point. Bazinga X, $50. Not taking into account the price. Would you recommend the Asus ROG Maximus X690 Extreme Glacial for Intel? Oh, okay. For Intel 13th Gen. I love the included Ultra block. Not taking into account the price, would I recommend it? I mean, I haven't worked with that board. I like the ASUS BIOS a lot for like overclocking and stuff. It's hard for me to like make recommendations not considering price. The BIOS is good, so if you want something like, if you like how it looks, then sure. Okay. Brian Powell, I learned everything I know about PCs here. Built my first with 10900K and a 3090, and now it feels old already. Can you make technology stop, please? No, that would be bad for everybody. FHDSKL says, not gonna lie, I got excited when he said, let's do a shot. I think I was talking about a camera shot, but that works too. Minoku90 says, still experiencing USB dropout. Really? On the X570 Master, updated BIOS, no avail. Any suggestions? Man. Come a long way since XGN 11. Yes, that's a very long way. USB dropout still a problem? Not really. I don't know if it's a specific USB device maybe, or if they just never fixed it. I would say like email Gigabyte, but I don't really have any faith in them figuring it out. So I think for this one, honestly, like probably a forum would be the best place to go, because I think people have solved this stuff, but I don't know if it's well documented. I'd Pancake that says, hey Steve, are you looking forward to CES 23 with the Ryzen 9 3D versions? PS, love watching the stream. Yes, I am greatly looking forward to getting back to some of the travel events. So CES and Computex, both, especially Computex, really excited for. Hoping to get back to Taiwan to do a follow-up with EVGA and stuff as well. All right, next one. Gentleman Full 20. I'm running a 5960X paired with 2080 Ti, custom loop. What kind of uplift would you estimate I would see jump into a 7900 or 7950X? 5960X, I have not tested in a very long time. I have no idea, but I can tell you how to figure it out. So someone emailed us earlier asking this. The best thing to do, if there's like a CPU you have, you want to know how does it compare to new stuff, and it's not tested with the new stuff, is to go find the most recent review or benchmark that has that in the charts, and look at the percent difference between that and something that is still tested today. So let's say you have a 7700K, it's not in our charts right now, and you want to know how it compares. You go back, you find 7700K scaling versus a 5800X or whatever, 10900K, anything like that. You look at kind of percent difference between different games, and you go forward, you look at percent difference between the 10900K and the new thing, and then you can calculate the gap pretty accurately. It's not perfect, but it'll get you a good idea. So that'd be the best way to do that. If I purchased a mouse pad but didn't follow the link in the description, is it still eligible for the signature? Yes, it's purely time-based. If you buy during the stream, you'll get one. And if you don't want a signed one, then just email us, or you could wipe the signature off or something. Mark Man, where was the 7700X review? What do you mean was? It's been like a day. It's done. It'll go up after the stream. Zero Promises. Seems like ASRock and Asus are the current XOC choices. Any thoughts on EVJ X570 beyond? EVJ is not doing AM5, at least right now. So that's unfortunate, but they do have Z790 stuff. Fondler sent $2. Is this enough to buy a fourth nut for the LN2 pot? Probably. I'd have to like go buy it though. What games are you playing right now? Mostly Heroes of Might and Magic 3, honestly. Revenant. Should I go with the Pentium Pro or... Oh, wait, what? Okay. That is what it says. Should I go with the Pentium Pro or the new Pentium MMX for Quake on Rendition Variate 1000? The MMX will use as much as 15 watts and might need a fan. I was not really building my own computers at that point. Yeah, I don't think so at that point. But I do recognize all the names. Tech Addressed. Will we see a return to Rip J? Yes. I might have to cut the super chats earlier, but I think I can. I'll get through as many of these as I can. Let's see. Christoph says, Latvia, 5 a.m. I'm in a tractor and prepared to, I guess, do work. I don't know what that word means. And you're listening to the stream? That's cool. I don't know. I don't know how useful liquid nitrogen overclocking is for that, but it's good entertainment. Isaac Newton says, you mentioned, I don't know why that took me a second to realize. It's spelled Nootan, and I said the name and I was like, oh. You mentioned you love seeing support from all over the world. Here's some from India. Thank you. It is awesome to see. I see a lot of like dollar markers I've been looking at too, where I don't know the currency code, but it is cool to see stuff from everywhere. There's so many questions. I'm doing my best. Mr. Bean says, would you recommend an upgrade now from a 12900K or 58X3D? From an i9-9900K for 1440p gaming. I like the 58X3D right now at the price. It feels a little bad sometimes to buy the old platform. So I guess you need to look at, like, am I going to be on this for a long enough time that I won't want X670 and I'll be buying something in the future? If so, 58X3D is good for the price. It's come down. I don't know if it's gone back up, but it came down recently. Jean-Paul says, love the XOC streams. My 2 rescue kittens love sleeping on the GN mod mats. I've ordered the new medium one too, so they don't fight over it so much. Grabbing a new mouse mat today as the cats love clawing it. Apparently, we need to like sell all of these under the Amazon cat toys section or something, because it sounds like what we've accidentally done is made products for cats, but that is awesome. Let's see. Suggestions on power supplies for Threadripper Pro 5995WX and 4090s. So, 2 4090s. Oh my gosh. I don't know. Asking, is a Silverstone Hela 2050 watt okay? Well, I need multiple power supplies. Depends on the OCP. You might want to do like an 011 dynamic build and pull the hard drives out and put a second power supply in. That would kind of be the easiest. Then you just need a way to jump them. So like Fantex makes the dual power supply thing you could use. That would be kind of the like least likely way to trip OCP, I think. Nary Mooncat, thoughts on an ethical PC build as an alternative to the disappointment builds? Picking parts based on company reputation. That is a losing battle. I don't know. Like, everybody's up and down at different points. we've talked about, I mean, I guess we kind of do like best of categories every year. So we do like best CPUs, best GPUs, all that stuff. It's kind of that, except all in one build. Euphoria says LN2 plus DLID plus direct die student. Dear Barrow sent his regards. Yes, I've asked him for the direct die stuff. Randall says first build 63 analog breadboard wires to program 4 volt meters readout for math functions. That is well beyond, I think, what I would be capable of working with. So that's cool. Dakota B says, love your work, the team put out. Looking forward to all the new tech. Yeah, right now is crazy. It's like nonstop new stuff, which is why I gotta get back to testing soon for not just GPUs, but Intel's announced its CPUs officially now. Garrett Allwood says, do any AM5 boards support Thunderbolt? I'm not sure. Sorry, I haven't looked through all of them. Retik Atwall says, please test 7950X in eco mode. I think we're planning to. There's been enough interest in it. I got to pull it out of here and do that. Michael Sarrett, can we expect your Raptor Lake i5 review, breakdown, value analysis? Oh, when? I'm not sure. I don't know when the embargo is on that yet. I think we're talking to them. But Modna89, go for 6.4. Seriously, do you think AMD will keep skipping thousands until their series is larger than Intel? Because everyone knows 7,000 is less than 13,000. I don't know. Ian Koch just made a funny comment to AMD where he said, like, so this new naming scheme, it's going to stop at 9. And they're like, yes. And he said, what do you do after that? Because you know if you've hit 10, then you've lost. And AMD said, yes, we're aware, which I thought was a fun comment from him. Derek says, props to the great work you and the team get done day in and day out. Longtime viewer here with a little token of appreciation. Thank you. Says, have you considered an LN2 auto feed pump? Yeah, so I wouldn't do it, but you should go on the channel and look up RoboClocker, ROBOCLOCKER, all one word, because that exists. It's something Kingpin and Tin did, and it is really cool. It was a one-off project. It is an LN2 like automated feed where there's 2 tanks. One's a capture, one's a return, one's a capture and return, and the other one is, I guess, input. And it's really cool. It basically is exactly that. We're almost through. I've only got probably like 2 pages now down from the 6 we had a minute ago. And no more super chats. I have it on the screen. So Dennis says, upgrading from 9900K because I ran out of PCIe bandwidth. Going to AMD for the first time to figure out the top, say, 2 motherboards on the new platform. I've always used Asus Hero on Intel. Asus Hero did well for us in the review. After initial setup, we had no stability issues at all. This thing I thought was pretty okay, actually, today, but it is kind of limited in BIOS. Cam Johnson, hey, Steve, nice to get XOC on the 7950X. Yes. Well, give me a baseline for what I should be aiming for when I do my XOC next month. I think 6.3 is pretty doable. I didn't quite get there, but let's see. PC Car says fun. Events, did we get yours? Yes, we got yours earlier. Sir Wise a lot, $5 no message. Matthew Sapelvik says, always wanted to know what's the quick story behind the Australia picture on the back wall. Love your work. These streams are cool too. Yeah. This we sold in, I think it was about 2019. It was around the time of the really bad bushfires in Australia. So we did a limited charity shirt. 100% of the money went to 2 charities that I chose that were both focused on wildlife. So they were basically like wildlife hospitals. And one of them was the Adelaide Koala and Wildlife Hospital, which I still support today. I like their work. And the other one was it was Southwest something Rescue. It's been a few years, but yeah, so they were limited. We sold it to the audience, gave all the money to those groups, and I don't remember the exact dollar amount. It was crazy though. It was the biggest charity drive we've ever done at the time. It was close to like 20 grand or something. It was like I want to say it was like 18 or something like that, US. And then the back has like a GN logo with a koala on it and like some eucalyptus and stuff. It was really cool. But we did them as limited things. So, but that is the answer to that. It was a super cool shirt though. We sold it early 2019 if you wanted to like look up the full image of it. All right. AM and we're down to the last like 10 or so. Hey Steve, please continue to be an example by wearing PPE when handling LN2. No, I mean, the gloves for me are more dangerous to use than not. So, sorry, but yeah, no. Next one is, for reasons I explained earlier. Next one is from Yungo Cast, says, Z390 Godlike, is it worth getting an M.2 PCIe adapter for when I upgrade my motherboard, or is U.2 a dead format? U.2 is still kind of around. I saw one board with it recently. I don't remember what it was. It might be better, honestly, to just move to a new drive if you can't get a U.2 thing instead of adapting it. I don't like adapting drives. I feel like there's a lot of risk for something to go wrong. All right, yeah, 45K in Cinebench R23. To answer the question about the cap. All right, last few. Cat the Insane says my last build was a C2 quad Q6600 and a 4870. That was one of my previous builds. I had Q6600 and 8800, and I later went to a 4670 or 4870 on a different build. Planning a new build. Besides M.2 and newer DDR, what's changed since then? A lot. Any opinion on Ice Giant Pro Siphon? No, not yet. How much power supply do I need for 4090 and 13700? I don't know on the 13700. We have to test it. But, I mean, we're kind of getting close to like kilowatt territory. What's the major stuff that's changed? I guess, here's a good one for you. I'll throw this one out there. Case quality. Cases have completely been overhauled since the Q6600 era. Like, especially ease of installation features and cable management. You're talking Antec 900 days. That stuff didn't exist then. So the biggest difference you're going to feel is when you go to put the system together and you're like, wow, that was way faster than I remember it being. All right, let's see. Mac Twea says, hi, Steve. Hi. G Action. What 68XT or 69XT do you recommend that does not need a GPU bracket to actually, and is actually a fun card to play with? Thinking Sapphire, XFX, Asus, open to checking others. I like the Sapphire stuff that I worked on. I felt like their Nitro series was pretty solid every time we reviewed one. Omega, we're down to the last couple. Could we get 5G Plus on a 7950X with Air, like a D15? Yeah. Probably pretty close. I think so, especially with tuning. I'm not sure though. D15, I don't know. You'd be close. Bob Calso, PC issue. Turned on PC on the hard drive O2 post error. Boots to BIOS and NVMe. Only shows in config, not in boot options. I've changed motherboards, tested RAM. So what is it? Hard drive boot error. Boot to BIOS, NVMe only shows in the config and not in the boot options. I'm guessing that maybe the slot, either lane assignment or like SATA NVMe configuration issues. Look through the PCI devices menu in BIOS and check for like if you're running SATA or NVMe and the lane assignment. And you check the manual too and see which slots are NVMe and which are SATA, depending on how old the board is. All right. Answered that one already. Scott Hurley. LMAO at the J Kingpin burn. Phantom says, okay. Grant McGregor says, good luck everyone with cooling their rooms. My apartment with no AC is now having trouble with last-gen Ryzen and a 75-watt GPU. Makes me miss the days of 4-watt Cherry Trail add-ons. We are not anywhere close to those days now. Okay, so I think we are good on these. I'll get these last couple because they were in right before the end. Monstratus, will EVJ leaving the GPU market make the next disappointment shirt? I don't know. It's a good question. It's like disappointment in a different way, right? Like not like you're mad at them for the product, but just like actually disappointed. I'm not sure if that qualifies to think about it. I think so. Depression Daily says, much respect for you and your team and all you do. Love from Charlotte. Also, is that the new 4090 you got hooked up? Yes. First of all, thank you. And yes, this is it. If you've been wondering, I'm not even supposed to show you this right now. This is a new RTX 4090. And believe it or not, this actually pulls 450 watts. And so I hope someone from NVIDIA has like the stream open and heard that, but isn't watching. And they're like rushing to a computer right now. Like, did we send them a sample? Take it back. All right. We are at the end of these. So any advantage to installing Windows 10 over 11 for gaming? 11's going to, this is from Jay Griffs, 11's going to be better with newer stuff just because of the scheduling issues. Okay, I'm going to cap it there. So, tips what to look for in an LN2 doer. Size, that's really all you need to, it's because they're heavy. 30 liters, that's pretty heavy. So, all right, thank you for watching. So, recap is we got to about 6.2 gigahertz, like 45K for the score. And I had a lot of fun with the overclocking session, and I'm looking forward to doing more of it. I know we can push further. I think I will probably have to put a sooner cap in on the super chats. We appreciate it a lot, but I still haven't mastered figuring out like how do I balance sort of interaction, answering questions, and doing this thing. So we'll figure that out. But I want to do more of this, and we'll be back soon with that. So thanks for watching as always, and check out the channel for all the reviews. 7700X is going up next. So that video is done, it's rendered, and we just need to publish it. And yeah, thanks for watching. We'll see you all next time.